Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-bum. Ba-da-bum. Oh shoot, I gotta change the stream title. Whoopsies. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-bum. Hello. Hey. Yeah, we just started stream. Ba-da-ba-ba-bum. Gotta change the stream title. Hello, everybody. Oh, really? Hammertime, baby. Ba-da-ba-ba-bum. And I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, what's up, Takamura? Ooh, I know what that means. Bro, I'm freaking starving, man.
I know, me too.
Fine.
Close your eyes.
I'm not even looking. Ask Spilo.
I knew you were feeling sick.
Hot takes. Ooh, thank you. I might eat them, bro. I'm freaking dying over here. Bro, I was sad. I'm tired, man. I didn't feel very good. I was like yawning throughout all my first session. I was tired, man. Hey, how much is a team coaching session? Exclamation mark coaching. What? No, they haven't.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I haven't had time, sadly. Why is my oh, why is it not working? Okay, there it is. Have you seen Boger's Unranked the GM Lifeweaver is finished? I did see that. I heard of it, yes. Congratulations. I also coincidentally coached my first Lifeweaver today. Kind of coached. It was half coaching, half asking, because it was a top 500 player. So we kind of did a little bit of a back and forth, so it was fun. Hate saying first, but had to. World Cup watch parties at any point? Maybe. Doesn't count Lifeweaver got buffed. I mean, that's, well, I mean, yeah, yes, also. Cheers, Flower Drop. Like, really? It's too much crunching. I mean, maybe. Maybe. I mean, honestly, yeah, I probably should, because I'm starting. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Please stop doing McDonald's music.
For real, you threatened to feed me and then threatened to impale me in the next sentence. Huh? No? Hammertime, baby, ask Spilo. Nice and hot takes, reaction, and coaching and such. Link and replies. Okay. Hey, Seahawk. Yeah, peaking Masters 1 would like drive me up the wall. That is way too close to Grandmaster.
Dude, remember when I hit silver 1? You're in the 99th percentile.
Yeah, that happened to me.
I was like, please.
I ping my.
Trying to be in the bottom 1%.
Let's get a good quality meme for my. For my Discord. They've been fine.
I almost bought a shirt for Will for his birthday.
Oh yeah, that one's a little sus. Hey Jabberwocky. Heaven, thank you for the sub, mate. I appreciate it. Okay, let's. All right, pick a code for me to. We have a replay review. We have a replay review. Wait. Yep. Hey, Ree. I'm gonna have a little bit of food. I am starving. Wow. One of my videos, really helpful. Thank you. Hell yeah. Why is New Cassidy sentient? Oh, good question. Hello, hello. I scheduled my first Overwatch coaching session with you. Nice.
Imagine if you offered Overwatch woodworking.
What?
Imagine if you offered woodworking.
I could coach woodworking. Yeah. Listen, bub. You put the planks together, you stick a piece of metal in it, and you beat it to death.
That's Overwatch coaching.
I mean, I'd probably be more qualified than most high school teachers. Bro, Brody is eating because Brody has barely had breakfast. It was like a tiny little breakfast. It's like 3:40.
Alright.
Oh yeah, a doctor's appointment, so. Hey, Poke.
It was a psychiatric evaluation. Why are you still that weirdo?
Yeah, psychiatric evaluation and you failed. They did the whole, I think, therefore I am, but then they're like, yo, please stop thinking. Catch my drift. Yeah, I don't know what deals with the cast grenade, y'all. I don't know. No, it's not a butt mukbang. No. I have to eat. I am starving. I am withering away. I'm gonna make this quick. No, that would not be a great idea. No. No. That would be the opposite of a great idea. That would be a poor idea. No. No, that would not be good content. You and I have different definitions of good content. Get Huel? What does that even mean? Stop making up words. Okay. We have a code. And now we have to look at a form. Okay. Masters. Sigma. All the way through.
Why is my twitchy?
Oh, hey, Dolas, thank you for the sub, mate. And Neo, thank you for the sub as well. I missed a few. Why is your Twitch in German? I don't know. Okay, this is a Master Sigma. Roast me if you want. Feel like this kind of learning does the best with me. Do you want to be roasted, or would you be okay with being roasted? Because if you're okay with being roasted, then I'm not going to roast you. But if you want to be roasted, I will roast you. What do you hope to get out of the session? Climbing better on the ladder. Opening up my mind about different issues and finding solutions to them. Hope to utilize the resources gained from a session to be a better player. How many hours of sleep do you get per night on average? Mostly 7, at weekends more. Okay, it's not terrible. Long-term, short-term goals, reaching Grandmaster, maybe to start streaming more frequently, but that require a better PC and keep going with the game, basically. Okay, so without going too in depth into the hello Spilo, hello Striker. Without going into detail about training schedule, that would be something I'd be taking a look at as well, as like how consistently are you able to play, how long are you able to consistently play with focus. Do you have a warm-up routine? You don't need a long warm-up routine. A balanced roasting. Okay. Did I miss something at the beginning? I don't know. I'm quite new to your channel. I enjoy your content. Thanks for all your help. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, cheers. I might have some. I might have missed some questions, chat, because my phone. I have like 3 lines that I can see. So, okay. Grandmaster. So for Grandmaster, I'd say 2 to 2.5 hours per day of dedicated practice. Less maybe if you have a tighter hero pool. But if I go in your hero pool, you say your Sig is your S tier, Ram, Winston, Diva, Junker Queen, Zarya, Orisa, Rhine, Ball, Hog, Doom, you don't touch at all. So I would even though you're like, okay, there's only a few tanks there, depends on how much you play, but you definitely want to specialize at least a little bit. Yeah. Like a Sig, Ram, Winston is a fine hero pool. Or a Sig, Winston, Junker Queen is a fine hero pool. Can I please tell you how to Zarya? No, sorry, it's a secret. Although I have an Overwatch 2 2023 tank guide where I coach a Zarya of a low and a high rank. You can check that out on YouTube. And also, you know, give me your firstborn child. Huh? Oh, beer. Arsenic tablets. Okay, yeah, Sigma. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? Mental. How to stop blaming stuff I have no control over. Well, oh, this is delicious. Here's the bad news. Not an easy thing to do. Because the problem with saying, how do I stop blaming stuff I have control over, is that's probably reinforced in ways that are outside of Overwatch, okay? So let's put it this way. If I'm saying, I need to stop being so frustrated when I lose games, okay? Here's a question for you. Do you get frustrated when you lose, period? The answer is usually yes, okay? The problem with how to stop blaming stuff that I have no control over is that's something very important, but also probably something that you're reinforcing negatively elsewhere. For example, do you get frustrated at stuff that happens at work? Do you get frustrated when you don't get enough sleep? Do you get frustrated when you get injured? That one comes a little bit close to home. Do you get frustrated when you get distracted or some IRL or some social thing? The thing is, how to stop blaming stuff I have no control over with is that's not just about Overwatch. It's so much more than that. So it's very rewarding if you make progress at it, but it's very easy to slip back into that habit, even if you know it. For example, my cat is attacking a paper bag. For example, there was a really negative period of time in my life when I was getting very frustrated at my circumstances with my work. I'm not going to elaborate further. Let's just put it that way, okay? And what I noticed is that when I played Overwatch during that period of time, what is she doing? When I played Overwatch during that period of time, I found myself more likely to blame my teammates. And let me be very clear that I was a coach guy telling people not to blame their teammates, and yet I had a very hard time doing it myself because my real life circumstances were, I was blaming people more often in my real life circumstances, and it reflected in my gameplay. So you need to take a real careful look about your approach to not just Overwatch, but also about how you're blaming things or responding to things that you have no control over, period. Because you could be all the focus that you could try. You could be super focused. I'm really not blaming my teammates. But if you get off of the computer and you're like, my life sucks, right? You're going to have a really hard time actually being consistent within an Overwatch. You know? It's hard to separate your performance and your mentality in Overwatch and how you approach everything else outside of Overwatch. Which, yes, means it's harder to get the right mentality in Overwatch. But it also makes it a lot more rewarding if you do. Does that make sense? Lot of words, okay, to say don't, but also at the same time, don't expect you to just snap your fingers, right? Work at it, be patient with it, because it is a very, very, very important skill to build, and it's worth putting time into. All that being said, when do I push? When to fall back? Communication. Ignore communication. Don't worry as much about communication unless you have specific questions about communication, and not a wide enough hero pool, of course. Sigma, Ram, Winston, Diva, Junker Queen is not only wide enough, it's probably too wide. Hey, I'm doing fine. Like Sigma, you've got for like flatter spam maps, you could run Sigma, Ram, Winston, and that would be fine. Sigma, Junker Queen, Ram would be a little bit tough because they're all like, they don't have mobility. But honestly, you could even do that. There's only gonna be a few maps, so that's gonna feel bad. I think your hero pool is probably fine, assuming it's only like 3 or 4 heroes, but yeah. In terms of the actual when to push, when to fall back, that kind of stuff, we'll probably talk about in the review. How's Ryan Sigma? It's okay. It's okay. But it's not, let's put it this way. Ryan Sigma is not that much better than one tricking. Yeah, exactly, straight back. Exactly. Where baby news? I'm working. What are you even saying? Oh. Alright, well, here's the deal. If you want to expand your hero pool, find a hero that you enjoy. That actually expands your hero pool. If you go Sigma Ram, you've expanded your hero pool by like a small step, but not that much more. It would be better to have something like a Sigma Winston or a Sigma Diva that provides very clear strengths and weaknesses that Sigma doesn't. Sigma Diva would be fine. Yeah. Okay. you have any questions before we get into the gameplay here? Hmm? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, Diva's a little bit. What makes Ryan Sigma similar in terms of hero pools? Well, Reinhardt is better in close range. Sigma is better in long range. However, they're good. They're not very good in maps with a lot of verticality, because neither of them has a lot of mobility. So what you're going to struggle with is, like, on a map like this, Ryan and Sigma are both decent. Ryan is probably a little bit better. But if you go into Gibraltar, Dorado, Umbani, I don't know, a lot of Koth maps, Oasis, you're going to not really want to play either as much. It's, again, Orion Sigma is a better, is like decent. Like, there are places where Ryan's gonna feel better, there are places where Sigma's gonna feel better, but it doesn't cover as many bases as like a Ryan or a Sigma plus a mobile hero. Remember, pretty good if you start in high ground. Yeah, true. Neil, what are you talking about, ranchy cheese? What is wrong with you? Sigma, spam. That is all. Do damage. Fine. Don't stay here, though. Don't stay here, though. I know why you were here to initially hit the rock, but don't stay here, though. Because if you go here, you create an off angle with a better spam cycle. And you, by being here, your shield will also indirectly allow your Sojourn and Ana to actually do damage. You are a... Where are you? Just behind me. A medium range hero. Don't stand here and trade tank. Yes, thank you. And then, yes, thank you. Do not turn around in the Doomfist. Instead, spam and control. My only concern here is, are you, as soon as you're going to get the opportunity to, be able to put some pressure on this Lifeweaver? You might not be able to. He might play outside of your range, but that's okay. Now, another common mistake that I see from Sigmas is this right here. Why is this a mistake, you may ask? It's not likely that he's going to need it for himself, right? So why not just use it for extra HP? Well, the answer is, first off, you don't know that. And second off, and something that a lot of people don't consider, is when you're shifting, you're not spitting. When you're shifting, you're not shooting. And so when you're not shooting, you're not putting out pressure. And we're not putting out pressure, the Genji's not taking damage. And when the Genji's not taking damage, then his team and his supports and his DPS can play more aggressively. So would that have saved your Genji's life? Heck no. Also, that rock is atrocious. But there's no reason to shift here when you could be doing damage instead. And also, I would not be peeling out. I would consider putting more pressure on this Mercy, training with Genji, or even deepening from there. There's really nothing to deepen on, I guess, with his Lifeweaver, so that's kind of sucky, but yeah. You just kind of lost the Genji there. So. Come on. You need to hit these. You need to hit these. I find when I play Sigma, and he's probably my second most recently played tank, is when I am like fully tuned in, I can hit rocks. That one just didn't feel like you were tuned in. There's a certain level of focus that is demanded from individual shots like Sleep Dart, Rock, and so on. And that missing that egregiously, even though you're like, well, I thought he was going to drop, you could still react to that. You're better than this. You're better than this. Control that Weaver, control that Mercy. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that, you know, your hero is the best versus this composition, but it's not bad. Also, another circumstance where there's really no reason for you to be backing off and peeling. Right now, we should be dropping shield at our feet or blocking off the Lifeweaver LOS and focusing squishies. Don't peel off the Doom. You're not very good versus Doomfist unless you're hitting a rock. Instead, drop shield at your feet, focus the Mercy, focus the Genji. That's where your shots are going to be most impactful. Now, if you have Rock, it complicates things because the Rock on Doom is very easy to hit. Nice, Rock. But when you don't have Rock, I don't care if you miss half of your shots in the Genji. The shots that you do hit are going to be mattering a lot more. So, a little bit of target priority there. Shifting without reason. Not enough focus on Rocks. Let's keep watching. Sorry for eating. I'm so hungry. Yep. Bam, bam, bam. Let's put it this way. Oh my gosh, that was horrible. I don't mind the Rock, but once again, I'm a little bit more concerned about the follow-up than the Doomfist I am itself. So, hit the Rock. Maybe like throw a shield here, if nothing else, to block off Genji, Lifeweaver, Tracer, LOS. And focus more on punishing. It feels like you were very, very focused on Doomfist, and I like the Rock. I think the Rock is easy enough to hit to justify the attention. But be careful about over-chasing. And then because, like, look, let me demonstrate it with circles. Watch this. Okay? Look at where you at. Okay? You're here. Because you are here, this will affect how Mercy, Genji, and Lifeweaver have to position. Okay? So then when you hit the Rock on Doomfist, nice. You deny him being able to encroach on your team. But then as you back up, do you watch the Lifeweaver's position, Tracer's positioning, Genji's positioning, Mercy's positioning? Could they do this without you on the Doomfist? Right? This is all we need to see. So, what I'm not saying is that peeling on a tank is always bad. Sometimes it's good. It's like if this Doomfist is really killable, it's understandable, right? Like it's okay to let them take space for a second if you quickly secure the kill. But you have to be very, very, very careful. You have to be very careful. I think simply hitting the Rock on Doom, maybe throwing a volley, but keeping my positioning here, and then taking a quick second to be like, all right, who's here? Okay, you are overextending. You're overextending. I'm going to trade you guys out. That would be a better use of your time. Because the danger there is that the Doomfist, you don't hit the Rock, or you do hit the Rock and, like, let's say Doomfist ults, and then all of that attention on Doomfist is for naught, and instead their backline just walks up for free. Like, honestly, just don't even worry about Doom ult. Just sit here. Just hold the corner. Keep the Echo at distance. Keep the Genji at distance. Now, again, this is not a very good composition for you. Sigma thrives when there are slower targets to shoot, where they're easier to spam, right? There's a lot of flyers here that are going to be a real problem for you. But even then, your presence alone is creating space. And so here, you back off, Doomfist hits you, but you should be here. You should be here, excuse me. Rock is fine, it just needs to hit. Shift is also fine, very understandable. Valk in the air, screw it, focus tank. But very soon, I want you to quickly pivot your attention to check Genji and Lifeweaver's positioning. These Rocks have to hit, mate. I think we need to chill with the Rocks a little bit. I'm not saying chill as in, you know, stop spamming them, but like, come on. He does a little bit of a dance and you miss at point blank range. Now, here, you definitely should not peel. Now, you do have your shield up, which is good. At the very least, you're blocking off the damage follow-up. You sometimes can do this. You throw your shield, you turn around. That's fine. But right now, considering how close they are, and considering the fact that you have Flux, we're crying out loud, mate. Just Flux this guy. Like, that is crazy to me. Did this Genji Lifeweaver walk up like this? At least you're focusing the Genji here, and nothing happens. I wouldn't be dropping off either. Yeah, and see, then now you've dropped off. You want to guess what happens up here? Genji and Lightweaver do whatever they want. And what are you gonna do? Look. Now that you vacated, look at the space that they take. Every time you leave it, like, think about Sigma. Okay, here's how you think about Sigma. You guys ready for this one? You guys ever play the game Balloon Towers Defense? Okay? You're like a turret, okay? You're like a turret. Where you are, what you can reach is uncomfortable for them to walk around. The way to beat Sigma is to make him move, to make him reposition constantly, or to play in positions where the turret can't reach or can't see. Okay? The problem that's happening here is that you are... Okay. Rez, have you played Balloon Tower Defense? I'm gonna do a really corny analogy here if you have. Okay. But the big thing is that you're forcing yourself to reposition unnecessarily. And then you're giving up space, okay, years ago. Okay, basically think of it this way. Let's say that you're a sniper monkey that does a lot of damage versus like the clumped up rainbow balloons or red balloons, okay? You're like a fully automatic sniper. But the target priority is set wrong on your turret. And so instead of doing that, you focus the Moabs, the big blimps. And so, yes, you're doing damage, but it's not where your class is most effective versus. And then not only that, you're repositioning yourself to chase a Moab and shortening your sightline, giving up space so that all these rainbow and red balloons are just coming streaming out of the woodwork and killing all your lives. Okay? This is the problem. This is the problem. Your sniper no longer has good sightlines anymore, nor does it have control. Even if you don't have good sightlines, you can at least control them from taking this position. By spikes, right. Well, what is it? The Eagle? Not the Eagle Rush. Is that Angry Birds? I don't remember. I never needed it or never used it. Not a big deal, but I black bordered a couple of easy maps, so, you know. It's not a big deal, though. I wasn't one of those cringe druid spammers either. But yeah, I mean, this is just, you give up so much space when you peel back, and not only is it the wrong target priority in terms of return on investment, it's also what you enable by peeling back. Yeah, I told you, I'm a pro at this. Again, here. Walk. I understand. But if you miss the rock, you know what I'm saying? You see that? Gotta be more proactive with the ult too, yeah. Look at what she dies to. She doesn't even die to Doom. She dies to the freaking Echo that you just enabled. I know, it's an Echo. You can't really control her that much, but you can control her. At the very least, throw a shield there, turn around, rock the Doom, miss the rock, turn around, shoot the Echo. That's specifically what I'm looking for here. I'm a bit of a ninja spammer. I agree. I'll admit. Hey! Look at your positioning. Good. No! Oh yeah, the rank. There. Bottom left. So, if you're going to push here. Or just keep spamming. As soon as you drop, you lose the sightlines that you need to control. Now you do end up like you're in the thick of it. You could flux that. As soon as you see punch, don't hesitate to flux. Nice. Ah! Yes, that was good. That was good. What the park, bro? What? What does that even mean? You're welcome. Good. Force the Mercy back. Look. What the part? Good. Good. No damage boost for Blade now. Oh, thankfully they swapped the cast. That's like the nicest thing they could have done. This was succulent right here. Look at this. Forces Weaver out, forces Pedal, forces Rejuvenating Dash. Genji loses the damage boost. You get the kill on Mercy. Life Weaver's out of position, so he can't heal Genji. So Genji has to disengage here instead of being able to keep going with this dash reset. They all peel on you, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Oh, man. Stop. Look, okay, especially now that you have the Cassidy here. This is, okay. This is one of the old Overwatch 1 car Q tips that you almost need to just remove from your brain. You can shield Doomfist ult, but you shouldn't shield Doomfist ult 90% of the time, because unless it's only the Doomfist going in, then you're exposing your entire team to, guess what? Not only is it a waste of a shield, it is a waste of attention. And the irony here is that you shield the Doomfist and then die anyway. Yes, there's a cat back there. No, CarQ didn't lie. It's a good tip, and it was more relevant when there were 2 tanks to hold space. But if you're not controlling DPS now, there ain't anybody else. There ain't anybody else. I actually also think that we died because we took poke damage from the DPS that we... Yeah, right there. See, we actually died because of the DPS and the Doomfist ult. It's poetic justice right there. Is all this making sense, Rez? Ah! Please stop this little flicky thing, you know? You do this little flicky thing. We don't need to do it, right? I get having to flick at the last second with the rock, but watch your crosshair. Why are you looking at the floor? It looked like he put... No. He was putting shield on the supports so that they could juke around the Doomfist ultimate. That was my prediction. You tell me, Rez. My gut says that. I'm gonna get some water. Give me 1 second. Yeah, see? See? This is why they pay me the big bucks. I knew it. So you just need to pray that your supports are good enough to survive it, and then make sure that there's no follow-up. That's the most consistent play. Look at your crosshair. Stop looking at the floor. Yes. Where's that? Good. Oh, this is brilliant. I don't think you need to drop. I don't think you need to drop. It's fine to drop as Sigma to confirm a push, because you don't need to be scared to push a Cassidy or a Life Weaver. But like, you don't necessarily need to drop. You could swing here and do the same amount of spam damage. Just be careful. I don't think it's necessarily a mistake though, as long as you're pushing a squishy. Do you have any questions so far, Rez? Oh man. Yeah. I think a lot of it is also like micro play as well. Like higher ranked Doomfists. I mean, this is the tank micro tip. Do you guys remember this, where you can use your power block to bait cooldowns? That's exactly what that Doomfist did right there. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but he sees that he's gonna get out. Should you be saving accretion for Doom block every time for this matchup? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You can use it's a good matchup, but it's also not 100% necessary. Oh, that's a fatty MP. Nice. Hold the space. Yeah, you don't gain anything by being here. Nice, nicely done. He doesn't even see you. I wouldn't be pushing up this far. I know what you're doing, but I would be very careful about what you're doing. because you're not going to get any follow-up as a result. Yeah, so this is, let me explain to you guys why Rez is feeding here. Okay? Rez is thinking, we want to get lead. We're up 1, but let's clean this up. Let me just pop an ult now, and then we can kind of snowball this and then win the fight. I can mention that I can constantly try to lower down my sense, which can be some influence my negative action with hyperspheric. Yeah, don't do that. Pick a sense, stick with it. Don't do that. Okay, so the problem here is that even though we're up 1 and we're trying to like quickly get an extra kill so that we can get lead, this is good push strategy, but it's not very good execution. You can't go this far because not only is the Doomfist already back, the follow-up from your team is at least halfway gimped because your Moira's on point and your Reaper can't push up with you. So the Flux isn't even that bad. I mean, you get life grip out. The Sojourn could have taken more damage there. The problem is that the follow-up isn't there because you went in too deep. If that makes any sense. I appreciate what you were trying to do there. And how do you get lead? No way you guys got lead. Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? I can't argue with the results.
We've lost possession of the robot.
Still be careful about that, though. That was a strategy that we developed with London last season with push. That got us a lot of push wins. We would waste our BAP window and our high noon a lot. We'd even sometimes waste like a dragon strike, not a dragon strike, a visor even. We'd sit right here and just get it to get the lead. Make it really uncomfortable. We even did it at points where it was like really hard to attack. Okay, same thing here. Shift for HP, you know, whatever. We talked about that already. You know, you go for the rock, you get the cycle out. Okay, not the end of the world. As long as your attention immediately goes back onto that. Don't turn around. Don't turn around. Again, it's like, you know the Sojourn's right here. The Life Weaver's right here. He's going to be pocketed, and you don't have rock for it. Again, like the Doomfist, I don't mind you turning on the Genji if you've got the rock. Hey, cat. But this is really, you got to be really need to be careful. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, you hit the rock, yes, but you enabled that Life Weaver for days. Like, the other thing too is it's like, if you hit, unless you hit the rock on Genji, you're not shooting Life Weaver is going to mean that he's going to heal the Genji for more damage that you're going to do to him. Take a favorable 1v1. Great rock though. When you have the rock, go for it. When you don't have the rock, I'd rather you control Sojourn. I'd rather you control the Life Weaver, the slower, more immobile targets. Also, did we not have shift yet? I'm going to try and not look super smug. Because this shift was just completely wasted, and then you're going to die afterwards as a result. So, a little bit of your shift usage here as well, because you shouldn't have died here. Shift right here, saves your life, then we don't have to burn res, then your Mercy doesn't die. Then this fight becomes actually winnable instead of, well, maybe it is winnable. Well, it becomes 1 instead of winnable, let's put it that way. Oh, no, disaster. Okay. Those two things need to be looked at. Let's keep going. Get him. Oh, you gave up the lead. That's fine. Good flux. All right, let's go. This gets super messy here. I'm trying to like figure out what goes on here. Okay. So first things first, we disengage the Life Weaver. We're spamming out. We clear out the junk. We need to clear out the junk. We need to clear out the junk. We need to clear out the junk. Clear out the junk. We're still not clearing out the junk. We hit the rock on Doomfist, but we're not clearing out the Junkrat. Like, that's our best 1v1 right now. You're still looking at Doomfist. There's the Life Weaver and Junkrat just crossed right in front of your face. All right? Really something we have to be careful about. Shift there is very late. Doesn't end up getting us a lot of HP. We end up taking a lot of damage instead. We flux. We hit the spam, but there's no follow-up. The shield misses the Doom ult. Again, I think the most actionable thing here is just to say that once again, your target priority is just a little bit off. There's just a little bit off in terms of how you're using it, and maybe the shift was a little bit late. You could drop shield and shift if you want, yeah. Save your shield some HP. Yes. Yes. Stay on it. Good. Focus. Great focus here. Fight winning focus. Huge. She's an idiot, but really well done. And you notice how nothing here involved the Doomfist. Everything involved controlling that backline. It's the best thing that you can do. Get him. Get him. Get him. Get him. Well, I have this irrational anger around Lifeweaver. His voice acting, hero design, the lines themselves. It's like he's terrible and he just knows it. Oh no, do we lose? Yeah, we lose here. Not a lot you can do about that. Okay, so Salmon voice chat says she's gonna get him. Good, good. She just yeah. It happens. Don't worry about it. Okay, so let's talk about Sigma. Key things for you. The biggest thing is what controlling and holding space is. It means understanding where your most favorable matchups are, putting your attention on them so that your team doesn't have to worry about the Doom and his follow-up. If you don't have a rock for the tank that's engaging or the DPS that's engaging on your backline, if that DPS isn't a favorable matchup, you should not, or tank isn't a favorable matchup, don't look at them. Instead, keep your eyes on controlling and preventing the follow-up from happening. Hold space that way. Not just with your positioning, but also with your attention. We need to worry about your little flick rocks. This happens all the time with Widowmakers as well, where they'll purposely move their crosshair away from the target and then flick back and then do this. You need to be keeping your crosshair on the target and then last second flick for the rock. That's the habit that you need to do. Micro flicks by tracking first. Your shift usage needs to be a little bit cautious. Put a little bit of extra emphasis on that. Do you have any questions? When do you want to 1v1 a tank? When you have a favorable matchup. I don't care as a Sigma if you want to 1v1 the Doomfist when you have Rock. And there isn't anything else that's better to shoot. The thing is guys, tanks have more HP. So why would you go for a tank unless that tank is easier to kill? And if it's not easier to kill, then why would you 1v1 the tank? If I'm playing D.Va versus Winston, and the Winston jumps in aggressively, and the enemy backline is a million miles away, why would I go for backline when there's a very favorable 1v1 right in front of me? Right? It's not necessarily stop shooting tanks only, but for most heroes it is. If I'm Doomfist and I'm punching the Sigma off of cooldown, why? I'm never going to kill him. I'm never going to create any sort of pressure or threat by doing that, almost at all. I need to go for the backline. The problem here is that the Doomfist went for the backline and also got the Sigma's attention too. Dopamine, right. Dopamine. Okay, Rez, do you have any questions? Talked about a lot of stuff. Let me type up the points here. Sigma. Eye on shift usage. Necessary. Did it get HP? So I need it later. Hey Frosted, miss you too, man. How you doing? I just saw a team announcement with you pinged in it. I didn't see who else was on the team, but I think I saw Faded or something. But sometimes I go too deep, feeling too confident when, for example, being up one. Yeah. Is my backline awareness good, or do I need to look more for back at your team? So that's the funny thing is I want you to focus the enemy backline, but before you push, it is definitely helpful to check where your backline is whenever you can. Having backline awareness and focusing the enemy backline are not mutually exclusive. And so what I would do is right before you push, maybe doing a quick check to make sure that your team is also engaged. You don't need your team with you. You just need your team engaged. You got finals? All right. Well, the problem, Rahag, is that a lot of the times that the person that we're, for example, the Sigma here, right? The Sigma is not very good at killing a tank quickly. Unless he has Rock. A Doomfist is awful at killing a Sigma quickly. So, even if you're like, oh, if the tank dies, isn't the fight won? Well, yes and no. That question in of itself is loaded. but your tanks are usually not very good at killing the other tanks as opposed to other targets. So you're like, yes, you might have to let the tank run a little rampant in your backline. Do the same to their tank and do it better, right? Now, if you have a favorable matchup versus that tank, for example, if I'm playing D.Va into a Winston and Winston jumps right next to me, you better bet your butt that I'm focusing that Winston, because I can blow that guy up in a second, right? On DPS reviews, you also tell people not to shoot the tank. Again, it depends. It depends. The problem is that you will see a Zenyatta or a Squishy standing out in the open and a Wrecking Ball rolling around on the side, and we will see most people shoot the Wrecking Ball. Guys, you have to understand the context with which I say things, okay? You can't take don't shoot tank and say never shoot tank. The problem is that without exception, almost without exception, every DPS, tank, and support I review has Overwatch 1 habits where all they want to do is shoot the tank, which back in the day were a lot squishier, and that's not smart. You have to be a lot sharper than that. You have to decide, where is my impact the most impactful. Nuance, the word of the decade. True. Back in our day, Orion died to a hog hook. Yeah, pretty much. Like, nuance is really important, guys. This is why when we establish rules, I say things like, focus tank, but do it when you have this, when you have an advantage. I guarantee you, every single person in the comments, I could pull up every single fight and ask you, who should you be shooting here? And 95% of the time, you guys would come up with the right answer. Right? The problem is, in the moment, that most people don't think about it. They just turn their brains off and shoot what's easy to shoot. Right? That's the problem. What's easy to shoot is not always what's best to shoot. And I think that's what a lot of people mess up because of, like Barry was saying earlier, the dopamine. It's easy to get ticky when you shoot the tank. But the tanks are a lot tankier now. And there's fewer of them. And there are more targets to shoot. But nuance is everything, guys. Nuance is everything. I mean, it's the same thing with, like, I'm not going to go down the IRL takes here, but, like, it's the same thing with social media too, right? Like, we want to know, we don't want nuance. We want to know the full answer. Like, this is why people, we don't want the nuance. We want to know exactly what we have to do so we can turn off our brain and do it. But that's not how you're going to get better, right? What tank is best at 1v1s? Let's put it this way. When we're talking about 1v1s, we're not talking about in a vacuum. We're talking about it with heal support, okay? So both teams have heal support, okay? I would actually say that maybe Orisa? I think with Orisa more than other tanks, it's okay to focus the enemy tank. But it's still, you don't always want to focus the enemy tank. A large percentage of the time you're going to be shooting the squishies. But I think Orisa gets more value out of focusing tanks than most tanks do. She does a good damage to Hog. She does good damage to Winston. Her Javelin can mess with ball. Although I just reviewed an Orisa on the tank guide last weekend where I was telling her to Javelin the ball if she wants to prevent the slam and then turn her attention to the backline. Because unless he shows head hitbox, you don't do enough damage to ball. I think Zarya does okay versus tanks, but still should not be always focusing tanks. Reinhardt actually does really well versus tanks. If he can hit a tank with his hammer, he can do significant damage to every tank. Winston, Divas, Zaryas, Hogs, Queens. No, you're good. I love you. Even Ball, right? Reinhardt is one of the better ones. Now he doesn't always have the mobility to do it, but yeah. But it depends. D.Va isn't bad versus a lot of tanks, so yeah. D.Va's pretty good versus, like, for example, if you can get close to a Hog, she does okay versus Ball. She does great versus Winston. She does okay versus Ramatra if she can get close to Ramatra. Drive safe, love you too. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, let's do some hammer time. Ryan is not bad versus Hog, no, because you guys are looking at it in a vacuum. Hog beats pretty much every hero in a 1v1, but it's not a 1v1. It's a 1v1 plus support. Ryan's shield and armor has a much better time of dealing with enemy DPS while he's focusing tank. Hog just blows up, right? And Hog and Ryan with heal support can really wreck a Hog. Hog versus Zarya tips. I try and through your passive pressure out of holding an angle and shooting DPS, try to force bubbles early. Just play more for attention and less for the one shots. But yeah, it is hard. Cheers, Rez. If you have any questions, Rez, anytime, shoot me a message. Anytime. Okay, chat. Hammer time. Literally hammer time. Hammer time. Let's take a look here. So this is what hammer time is, okay? Exclamation mark hammer time if it comes up again. It basically is you will go in my Discord and under Spilo stuff. This is a seasonal thing. Drop Reddit posts, tweets, yes, anytime. YouTube videos, Blizzard forum posts, anything that's either attempts to be educational or is seriously intended to be educational, and I will look through it. I'll give you my rating about whether I think it's, you know, bad, okay, good. One of the exceptions is I generally try to tread carefully with other creators. A lot of guys, especially that I respect. I don't want to like get in there and start throwing names, but you know, I will use my judgment on it and we'll go from there. Like last couple weeks ago, we did one on awkward, and I disagreed a little bit with his approach, but I also told you about like how the overwhelming majority of what he's saying is really important and really good. I had a little bone to pick with like some of the details that he was saying. So it provoked a really interesting discussion because one of my viewers was an awkward fan and was like, well, actually, no, this is why I think his advice is better than yours. And we had a really productive, interesting discussion. So even in ways where like I'm not presenting it as like necessarily like I'm right, but as like creating a conversation was really informative. Do you have the workshop code from the Team Portugal Winston coaching from a few weeks ago? No, message me, Barry, and I will try to remember to check it out. Cheers, Rez. Have a good evening. Okay, let's check this out. So the first thing here, we're experimenting with some other Genji changes. Let's check this out. Whoops.
Dude, he doesn't have 30 ammo. What the fuck? Wait, is this a like a accidental buff? Cause why the hell does Genji have 30 bullets? Yo, hey, Dubs, if you're watching this, keep it.
Oh, I'm not. What is there to hammer time? It's 30 ammo, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. I don't. What is there to rate? Okay, it is what it is. Yeah, of course, Riz. Okay, let's catching some crazy downvotes early in this one. 47% upvoted downvote over the first 3 hours. Ouch. All right, Anima, let's check this out. Anima with the hot takes. All right, let's look at this one here. Okay. A common mantra over the years from many Overwatch coaches has been that something along the lines of this: the opponents aren't dying, so we need to focus targets better. The assumption is that the team is needing to select the correct targets during fight, or to split focus on multiple targets on a single one, and obviously killing one faster is better than two slowly, right? Hey to us. Well, it's not quite so simple. It's a relatively surface level understanding of the game that leads us to very one-dimensionally. For example, let's say we're Winston, Tracer, Summer, Lucy, Kirk, running the exact same line. Our target is Lucy because he's overextended and become vulnerable, but do we all need to shoot him? If we all shoot Lucio, he'll die fast, hopefully, but his teammates will all be fully free to do their jobs. This includes Kiriko healing him as he retreats and lands a Suzune as well. The opposing Tracer, Summer, and Winston could choose him to go away. Yeah, so this is basically saying that, like, we don't always necessarily need to focus the same target because sometimes we can benefit more from splitting the enemy attention in different directions at once so that the target that we're actually going for, we're split on it so that that target doesn't get the peel or support that he otherwise would get, which makes sense, okay? If only a few of our players shoot the opposing Lucio and our Tracer somehow focus somewhere else, we see a value chain created. The Lucio will be rapidly dropping in health, but the Kiriko will be tied with Summer and Tracer to feel comfortable healing on Suzu. You're now almost guaranteed to force suboptimal plays from your opponents by preventing other members from freely covering for the folly of the teammates. There's a slight chance that killing either target could make it but it's not much worse considering the strain the opposing supports. Now, here's one thing I will point out. I think the biggest thing with target focused, especially in Overwatch 2, this actually chains into the previous conversation really nicely. Because the problem with target focus is that not only is it a scapegoat for usually bigger issues that aren't target focus, But it's also implying that everybody has an equally favorable matchup versus, okay, so like let's say the Lucio, okay? Now I'm gonna argue that Winston, Kiriko, Lucio, Tracer, Sombra, all those heroes can shoot a Lucio fairly well. But let's pivot the composition a little bit. Let's say we're going Winston, Lucio, Sombra, Tracer, and we're going for, I don't know, we're playing versus a Brawl comp. Now some of us might be focusing on the BAP, right? But maybe not everybody can reach the BAP. Maybe not everybody is in a position to go for the BAP. Maybe in that point in time, it's actually better for us to keep the tank attention tied up, peel off the enemy tank, while a few of us go for the BAP. Or maybe we're thinking, okay, we're focusing the Mei, okay, and we're playing a Brawl composition. If I am playing a Hanzo in a Brawl matchup, okay, and we're focusing the Mei on the front line, I shouldn't be focusing Mei because I'm not in a position to focus the Mei without compromising my off angle. So what I might do is if we're focusing the Mei, this is our comp, this is the Hanzo in the off angle, BAP, Lucio, right? And this is the enemy comp, Ryan Mei, kind of together, BAP, Lucio back here, Hanzo on the off angle. My job as a Batiste, or as a Hanzo, is actually to distract the backline and threaten the backline so that then they look at me while my Ryan Mei Lucio with speed boost focus the enemy Mei. Because I'm not very good and I'm not in a position to focus the Mei, so therefore my attention is to pull them elsewhere. Now that's a bit of a niche scenario, but that happens all the time. Not everybody is good at killing a Lucio or a Mei or a Reinhardt. If your team is screaming queen, 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 but you're playing Tracer on the backline, do not shoot the queen, 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 queen. Shoot the squishies who will heal the queen for more damage than you will do to the queen. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I think that's a really important concept here. Okay, these valid chains are a critical concept in dive versus dive. Castle, thank you so much for the sub, man. I appreciate it. Most players think of dive compositions are playing mobile heroes to dive the enemy and jump on someone quickly to kill them. But what do you think of the best scenarios when all your opponents can easily escape? Kira can teleport away, Lucy can avoid making stuff. Someone wants to get you by tricks, playing the latest hero, Houdini. A bouncing frog. Thanks for the resub, mate. Unrelated question, but could I ask you what tanks you think are strong and ranked after the recent patch? I don't know, mate. I really don't know. I could take a quick look over it maybe afterwards. Maybe somebody will send me in a ranked tier list from somebody. Maybe I'll look over that. I don't like making my own ranked tier list, but I could maybe look at it. Okay. Well, then how do you win a dive versus dive matchup? Well, not by diving, that's for sure. Mobility has so much incredible potential as a duel beyond just closing the distance rapidly, and other high-ranked players can attest to this. If you all jump the opponent together, you'll quickly find your target has vanished and yourself surrounded by opponents. Instead, you use your mobility to play further from your teammates without being as much as being separated. This access multiple powerful off angles each fight and can be incredibly challenging for your opponents to answer. Okay. Dive versus dive matchups play for value chains created from capitalizing on mistakes or duels over the side of the map. One aim better use. The users are bleeding more efficiently, forcing the recall of the other tracer first and putting her on the back foot. She begins to leave, and our tracer follows, aided by our Lucio. The opposing tracer lost control of the flank, giving us free access to the opposing backline, ensuring we won't end up lost around if we go for an aggressive play. Now, let's say our Winston dives a Kiriko forcing teleporter. Our Tracer is now in a position to aggressively pursue wherever the Kiriko TPs, and the Kiriko has fewer options for TP because they're further away teammates. But let's say Winston jumps her somewhere, and she's able to fall. Now we could double onto their Tracer first. Cool. She's gonna go. Okay. A support under pressure can have the tank. TLD report isn't the most common possible counter. What most common isn't a lot timing or map control. Okay. I'm not saying that target force is never useful. I think like once map control kind of devolves and cooldowns have been used, target focus is really, really important in devolved mid-fight. And I speak this from like Overwatch League experience, right? Like once you've set up your fight and capitalized off of advantage and gone to the execute part, as the fight devolves, being able to stay on the same topic is really important. Awesome. Good luck, mate. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much for the sub. Can also be initial comments with relatively low advantage. Usually you gain from, but it's incredibly fun playing a lost man turn around. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna go. This is, you know, you're dealing with Overwatch University here, which first off is like it's for plats and diamond players. And so people are just gonna say random crap, and they're not gonna be able to do this. But I'm not gonna lie with you. It feels like you went from target focus, and then instead of talking about like why target focus alone can be applicable in brawl and spam and dive in different circumstances, you started to talk more about dive fundamentals and space control and timing, and then repeated yourself a lot. So I agree with your points. I just don't think it was communicated in a way that's even processable for like the average grandmaster player. Like this was super heavy stuff. And it does feel like it goes off in a lot of different directions. So I pity you because Overwatch University, but also you're not doing yourself a lot of favors here. I think if you're wanting to educate people, I don't think a lot of people will be educated by this. You argue your points well enough, but the points seem to hit on many different directions at the same time, and I think that's something that to work at. It feels like this could have been a dive, basic dive fundamentals comp or discussion more broadly talking about target focus outside of dive better. But yeah, like you're also throwing with, not literally, but you're kind of throwing your pearls before swine here as well. It is Overwatch University, and these guys are certainly not going to be able to explain something that's complicated. Okay, the Hater's Guide to Owl Mid-Season Madness. Okay.
This is it, boys. The mid-season madness. None of these teams have won a real.
Let me put my earbuds in so I can actually like turn it up a little bit without like having an echo here. Do they argue their points well? They do. Anima does a pretty good job. Yeah, I think it's hard to give an accurate grading off of that because it does feel like going too many different directions at once. Even without the average TikToker attention span, it's pretty heavy.
Tournament before at Florida, so one lucky fan base is going to experience winning for the first time. There may be no bad teams here, but there are no perfect teams either, so let the hating begin. The Florida Mayhem barely squeaked into the tournament after doing a moderate to severe amount of trolling in the knockouts. Their biggest enemy truly is themselves. At this point, they don't lack strategy or talent or anything like that. They just can't keep it together long enough to be great. Things should be good. They're at the forefront of the moderate rush comp. They have great flexibility across the roster and star talent to go with it. What is the problem? Why are they always blowing leads and curling up into a ball against the likes of the fucking Gladiators? Someone is still a World Star level player, and his aggression is the source of literally everything that makes Florida good. But sometimes he gets in his own head, hesitates, and the whole team crumbles. Chorong, however, has the opposite problem. Inside him, there are two wolves. One of them is the GOAT, cooks a 5-course meal for the team daily, and does everyone's taxes, while the other one bashes in 1v9 because he got bored. The DPS line can also just take over games if they choose to. Checkmate on the last day of the knockouts was a different breed, and you just don't want to mess with Merritt when he goes to the casino. The sad part about this team is that other than RuPaul, these players are inconsistent, and I don't trust all of them to be fully there long enough to actually go the distance. This is not a Mickey Mouse preschool tournament. This is the real deal, and flashes of brilliance aren't enough to get wins. The Boston Uprising.
I agree. I think that this team is just, it's a lot like, they're like the better version of Gladiators, where I feel like they actually have like a strategic identity, and they don't really have any weak points. The problem is that, like you said, they lost it? Did they lose to New York? They lost it or almost lost to some team. And Florida looks like, for example, versus Houston, they should have beaten Houston, and Houston's a darn good team, right? But at times it's just ugly. It's just ugly. No, you didn't get a scuffed. You got a tolerable. We'll put it that way. So I don't know. I think it's gonna depend on which boss or which Florida shows up. They don't have the same level of like raw mechanical star power all the time to just brute force it. So there is gonna have to be like a high level of team play. They are gonna have to be on the same wavelength here.
Are a very dangerous team right now.
Yeah, cheers, Rag.
Have a lot.
I appreciate questions like yours, because when you ask questions like that, it forced me to elaborate and explain things further, which I think is always really, really helpful for other people that might not understand. And it's also helpful for me because I have to explain my point in a way that it's forcing me to re-explain my point, right? There's a great story my dad used to tell me about one of his friends who worked for a business, and the boss was really mean, not like you, but really mean. And he was constantly writing up these like proposals and drafts and things, and the boss would say, "This sucks, do it again. This sucks, do it again." He's a total turd, right? But anyway, long story short, doing that over a couple of years forced him to like really like reevaluate what he was doing, and it turns out that the boss was a horrible writer. But what the boss had done indirectly, in a not very nice way, given, has forced you to reevaluate and recommunicate and do it over and over and over and over again. And like being forced to do that, like people saying, "Wait, what do you mean don't focus the tank?" Like putting that on me is like, I need that, you know, like if I'm going to get better at what I'm doing. So I appreciate it.
Lot going for them. In particular, the backline is on something else. Twilight's in the running for best honor right now. He's consistently hitting huge nades every fight like I've never seen before. He doesn't wait on a flank until Overwatch 3 or sacrifice positioning to the extent of Shu, but he's still taking more initiative than Fielder would to set up the fight, making him a perfect medium between the two. Then Izayaki gives him an X factor when they want that Kiriko.
I get that it's like part of the appeal, but it always cracks me up when like they talk about like, oh, this guy has this playstyle and this guy has that playstyle, but without the replay code viewer, you actually are just totally guessing. It makes for more entertaining videos, but it's total guesswork.
Or Zenyatta difference maker, and Lee Jae Gon is one of the best and most active Brigs in the game at the cost of dedicating at least one fight to feed Jae Gon once a map. On DPS, you have Decay playing like a man possessed on Tracer, hungry to win something now that he has a real chance to, alongside Birdring playing a very respectable Sombra. As for the tanks, I'll finally let go.
Yeah, I think that's also a good point as well. I think like, you know, the story for Boston and Florida has very quietly been not only like the performance of their flex supports, respectively, RuPaul and Twilight, how they've obviously played really well, but also it's like how you have like these traditional hit scan players in Merit and Birdring doing fairly well in Sombra. I think I haven't watched as much Boston recently, but Merit is definitely a little inconsistent with the Sombra for sure. Sometimes not so good, but I think him being able to level up his Sombra play is like you're having these, like, you would not expect a raw, it's like the equivalent of like Kai showing up and popping off on Sombra. You wouldn't expect it, and yet it's happening, kind of.
Oh, the Kalios.
Is he lip? No.
Slander for what his job
But he's doing fine.
is on Diva. He's doing it better than most, and of course Smurf has a world-class Winston. There is one small problem though. These guys have no fucking clue how to play Rush. Zero ideas, no thoughts, head completely empty, nothing but white noise. They'd rather play Kalios on Rhine and Diva on Shambali instead of Ramatra. It's that bad. How is it that bad? They unironically bring out the Bastion as a default game plan.
Now I agree with this, but also Ryan has they've performed on Rhine maps. So my heart believes this, and somehow the results have shown otherwise. So I think I'm more on the fence with this statement.
Your little cousin in quick play, the Hangzhou Spark were robbed of the better seed because Owl doesn't know how to read their own rules.
Why Boston keeps playing Bastion? Because was it on Shambali? Chat, did they play it on Shambali? Like, Boston is not as good at the controlling of space and angle way of playing it. So I imagine that they just rolled out on a cheese. Yeah, Shambali doesn't allow for good off angles. We've seen Bastion many times. That's why we saw Sombra on that map. We saw freaking Symmetra on that map. We've seen a lot of weird crap on that map. Busan as well? Really? I don't know. I don't know why Busan, but again, cheese. If you can't match them toe to toe on like an honest brawl comp, cheese it up. No, they didn't win the league championship. We finished 5th and 6th for the season.
And now
yeah. Sam said that Rhine Rush was better than Ram. Nothing changed. Teams just weren't as good at Rhine, I think. I mean, it's also just Sam's opinion. Maybe Ram was better because there was enough ways to spam it out, but like, there's just aren't very many good Rhine team players. So, in Owl, yeah.
They aren't going to
Control
land
Center Bastion makes total sense given how like narrow that place is.
either. They're staying home nice and cozy in bed, which is great news. Now they don't have to bother coming all the way down to Korea just to be sent home immediately. On the DL, this could be better for them because they don't have to deal with the pressure of being on stage, and they get to play from the comfort of their own setups. But if you lose to the Spark, that is a skill gap by the definition of the term, so cope harder. Hangzhou have smartened up in the last few weeks.
I mean, maybe. The guys, I speak from experience here. London freaking lost to Spark in the 5th to 6th. They should have progressed to third, 4th, I think, because of freaking Shy. Like, freaking like these DPS are just obnoxious. Like Spark were not a good team, but they just Shy was like the best Sojourn in the league. Everybody talks about like proper Sojourn, bro. Shy Sojourn was the bank. He was the best Sojourn in the league, and not to mention Leave on DPS. Shy literally deadlifted his team to beating London.
Let Shy carry on Hanzo a bit without abandoning Sombra entirely. And yeah, that's about all they needed to do to make it this far. Gushui, Leave, and Shy popping off individually is enough to make any match competitive.
Yes, exactly. And I agree with the Gushui opinion as well.
But everything else just isn't
is
quite up
obviously
to snuff.
phenomenal
Compared to the teams left standing, this backline is tragic, the synergy isn't anything special, and off of Winston comps, the Spark just are not a real team. 20 might be the worst player in the entire bracket, so if you get an off-tank map, just write that one off. And when they play a Rush Mirror, it's like a head-on tire bracket. And off of Winston comps, the Spark just are not a real team. 20 might be the worst player in the entire bracket, so if you get an off-tank map, just write that one off. And when they play a Rush Mirror, it's like a head-on collision between a 2006 Honda Civic and a semi-truck. They need an MVP performance from 3 different players to go on a deep run, and even then it's up
Maybe.
The Houston Outlaws are generally thought of as a team to stand up to Atlanta, but is that even
Yo, Ritsid, thanks for the sub, mate.
real? Are Pelican and
Has anyone ever been caught cheating in L? Nah. You couldn't. They do integrity checks before every single match. They have live cameras. They basically take control of your computer, so if any cheating software was running at that time, they'd know. Yeah.
Happy really the guys to go?
And the risk is like you couldn't. They do this all throughout. You would never be able to. Yeah. Cheers, Ritz. Appreciate it.
Really thought of as a team to stand up to Atlanta, but is that even real? Are Pelican and Happy really the guys to go toe-to-toe with Lip and Stalker? Forget Atlanta. Are Pelican and Happy favored on Sombra Tracer against any team in this tournament except for Seoul? Now normally there's no reason to
Maybe
worry about the Houston DPS, but now it's game time. Is it up there, Steve? I need to know. Showing steady improvement doesn't mean anything. This is what the improvement was meant for. Besides that, they're also another team that doesn't favor the rush comp, so they're fairly predictable outside of Violet's pick. And
I mean, I'd agree with the rush thing, but I mean, you're talking about like the best, well, maybe the best backline in the league, and they beat freaking Florida, like, I don't know.
The occasional Pelican echo. Do not get me wrong, of course Houston have things to be excited about.
Pelican has looked pretty good on Tracer.
Shu and Violet is like bringing a knife, AK, and tear gas to the gunfight. They can do it all, and the flexibility of Violet having the best kill and a good brig is crucial to any success Houston has. Fearless, on the other hand, is
Happy kind of falls into the category of merit as well, where the guy actually has a fairly decent Sombra. I think really all the hit scans have leveled up their Sombra this year. I mean, give credit to Lip, right? And I think just the individual players as well, to where like I don't feel like Houston is like miles behind in the Sombra Tracer. You know what I'm saying? Undead was caught cheating? Really?
It's like bringing a nuclear bomb to the gunfight. He will play Winston, he will primal you to dust, you will lose. Maybe we'll see more of the Doomfist look they flash, but either way, he is pounding. And even if this DPS line isn't winning you matches, they're not going to lose them either. They're going to compete.
Come on, it's not Shy and Leave, I guess, but like it's as good if not better than Infernal. It's as good if not better than Mayhem. It's competitive with Boston's DPS line as well. I mean, I think the gaps between these teams are a lot smaller. Oh, cheating on his girlfriend with multiple women.
Defend the East's honor and show that they can compete as a region. Woohoo!
I'm not gonna lie with you guys. Here's the thing. Mag and Skewed, I think this match is off of Mag and Skewed. I think, you guys ready for this one? I think Mag has a top 2 MVP candidate from APAC.
Infernal will defend the East's honor and show that they can compete as a region.
Let's go.
Mag will become not just the dawn of APAC, but the world. Skewed will finally be tested against other human flex supports for the first time this year, and his student versus master face-off with Chu will be legendary. NA Andes will be flabbergasted that MN3 has an infinite supply of luck that he can use at will. You have Zest coming off his best weekend of the season, so he's either heating up or Dallas were just awful. Your choice. And finally, Fix Fixa is the first successful human calculator hybrid, and NA has never seen a man run numbers like him. Here's the thing,
Fixa's
even after
okay.
weaseling their way into a bye and being the only team now with home field advantage, things maybe aren't all of that. MN3's Sombra is not inspirational, and Solar is the
really
worst
bad.
Sombra team in this tournament by a decent margin. Skewed
Yes,
will look
agreed.
less godlike when he isn't playing against
Well, actually, I don't know because I haven't seen Spark play, but they're definitely the weakest when compared.
hard AI,
The
and
NA.
Mag will be unable to cheese on the wrecking wheel in any capacity against teams with a half-decent Sombra.
I mean, maybe Briggs in Sombra Tracer with the ball that could still perform versus Sombra just fine. It's just not a flavor that teams have put out. It's been more about Winston value. Who's the top one? I mean, I don't know. One of the Spark DPS, baby. I haven't followed enough APAC, but I'm telling you, out of all the APAC games that I've seen, Mag is easily the best tank. And he's easily the best player in his team, at least consistently if we compare the tank and the DPS line. Support, it's a lot harder to say. Skewed has played really well, but it's hard for me to say how well Skewed has played. Fixa isn't it. Fixa is
Which is
definitely
everyone. The Infernal are a wild card. We don't know APAC's power level, and they have very different strengths and weaknesses from every other team in the bracket. Wilder,
From what
Rush,
I've
and
been
Winston
seeing, though, this
Hanzo
team
comps
lives
should
and
be
dies
among the
by
best.
now.
The Sombra is dubious, and Mag on off-tank will be an instant map loss. The Atlanta Reign are the team to beat. There is no way around it. They have a bounty on their head. Lip is, in all seriousness, every single Sombra player's father. Every night, I guarantee you, the Sombra player on each team is huddled around their exclusive replay viewer, looking at where Lip is placing his translocator, what off angles he's playing, all of it. And you know what that means? Lip understands what the enemy Sombra is attempting to do at all times, because the realest motherfucker he knows is himself. Lip is not the whole team though. He's just the beginning. Stalker has proven to be a role star level tracer and May. Chio and Fielder continue to be the best backline in the business, and they aren't playing textbook Overwatch
the best backline in the business, I think, when they're playing non-double flex support
anymore.
comps.
At this point,
That kinda
they are
goes
the
without
authors of a comprehensive guide to Overwatch version 6.4, available for $1,500
Okay.
at a location near
What?
you, and Hawk has been out of the spotlight just because of the star talent around him. But make no mistake, he's been a beast and is very easily the best tank player not on Winston in this tournament. The only things that could be exploited is Donghack's Winston being a non-factor and their preference to never play Kiriko
That's
at
true.
all whatsoever. If a team has a coked out monkey and an insane Kiri, which a couple
Those
teams
are
do
good
have,
weaknesses
maybe
to
these
point
cracks in
out.
the
I agree
armor
with
turn
those.
into holes entirely. But even then, it's still map dependent, so good luck. If Atlanta do not win this tournament, it means two things. One, Gator is in the running for largest fraud in Owl history, and two, Donghack is uncarryable and mid at best. You know what? Even if they do win, you can still claim that. Fuck it, who cares? This tournament better be amazing, because if it isn't, this season's capital D dog shit structure will look even worse. Anyway, thank you so much for
True. Yeah, I mean, I think this tournament should be really, really fun to watch, and if it's not, it's gonna be super disappointing. Yeah, this is fun. Yeah, I mean, this is fun. This is a fun video. I think obviously like I would never do a video like this. I'm too scared. I'm too scared of giving out harsh opinions, especially when there's players in the league that I still know well, and it's like I don't know. I also don't like giving opinions that I'm not like firmly cemented on. Like I'm never gonna be the guy for hot takes, really. You know, I always have to like back up and do my research on them. But yeah, that was good. What do you think of Gator as a coach? I have no idea, mate. Like my limit with Gator as a coach has been sitting with Gator in a voice call for a couple of hours during World Cup trials and having a couple of conversations with him about like the roster. I have no idea. Why Fixa bad? I don't think Fixa was bad. I just don't think he's as good as his competitors in this tournament. Oh yeah, Dolos. Let's do this here. I've only got about 15 minutes before we resume our hammer time, but let's hammer time your stats, mate. Let's do this. So chat, this is going to be a stats discussion. This is going to be a stats discussion with communication specifically, and maybe some map stuff. Yo, what's up, mate? How you been?
Okay. Pretty well. Although the tournament I talked about previously didn't go too well.
Yeah.
But there's always another, and I got a great coach now. I actually met up with my previous high school coach in the tournament, and
Nice.
one of the best coaches in the business, like in the country, and I mean it. Like he takes over a team, he wins everything with them, and it's actually a true story. Like he got fired from like a kindergarten where he made a Polish champions, and then he's working on another kindergarten, and then he went up to the coaches who took over his, and he was so confident for the tournament. He said to him, "I have good news for you. You will play for the second place, but I
Nice.
also have bad news for you. Next
Nice.
year I'm doing five kindergarten, so you'll not have that chance."
All right. Well,
And
perfect.
with the team of 4 and 5-year-olds, he beat the teams of 7-year-olds. He's that good coach.
Nice. I guess he's just the GOAT, like pass
Yeah.
out the pacifiers and then you're good to go. Okay, so what are we looking at here in terms of the communications thing? Do you have like a chart? Because I see the chart for the map win rate, but I don't know if I want to talk about that because like there's just not enough
that's
games.
my personal chart. That's my personal chart. That's
Yeah,
kind of I was asking about.
So talk
tips.
about the comm stuff because that's interesting.
Yeah. The main reason I wanted to do this on stream is because I will address that chat now because I want people's involvement. I want ideas on what stats to collect from Overwatch to help us better understand the game. And to give some examples, I will talk about what I've been collecting previously. Like you can bring up the voice chat stats. Or I'll just read it out.
Sure.
So
sure. Can you stream it through? Because I don't want to just stream Discord.
Okay.
If you don't have anything, that's fine.
I went live now. Discord. How do I hide this now?
I don't know. You'll. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we've been talking now about these things. So what I was doing is what I was noting after each game, like how many people were communicating, and I was only marking a person when they were actually giving valuable comms. So no trash talk, no like just hello GG.
Right.
Need to do at least some calling to be valued in that, and that's my win rate in relation to how many people were communicating, and
so 50% win rate with 0% people communicating productively at all. 57% with one person communicating productively. Now, was that you or
me.
1 plus you?
No, it's me. It was usually me, but sometimes I was silent because we had a great shot caller and I had nothing to add. But usually me.
Okay. And then if you had 2 people talking, maybe you plus a person, 67.21% chance winning the match, and then 76% when you had 3 or more people productively calming. Now, I talked with you about this one, about how I'm not a huge join voice comms, shot call, all that kind of stuff. However, it is interesting to note that when there is at least some form of productive communication, that the win percentage goes up. I mean, that's not a surprise. The question is how sustainable in it, and then also the question that I brought up to you is then how much of these games had communication because the game was already going well. So when did you actually start to mark, like, kind of know what I'm saying though, right? Like if the games, people are popping off or being rewarded for calming, people are more likely to continue to talk,
Well, actually, what I've noticed is that people are more inclined to communicate when things are going badly. So I think that is kind of a reverse effect, and the actual value of communication should be even a greater increase than these numbers suggest. Because when things are going smoothly, like we're just rolling them, then nobody talks because what's the point of talking? Like there's nothing to shoot call, everybody dies in front of us. But when things are going like really poorly, people start to get desperate and be like, okay, now coordinate. We really need to group up. Maybe we need to make some swaps. That's when things go poorly, that motivated people. That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
So I assume I have 2 things, like two conclusions from this. Like first, talk yourself, and second, try to get other people to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some streamers giving like tips, like to the other start of the game to say something in the realm of, hello, is my mic working? It was broken last time. How can you hear me? And
nice strategy.
Kind of provoke people to respond. Yeah, and that to get people to communicate first. What I noticed from my experience is also that at the very start of the game, like first team fight, make at least like 2 or 3 communications about like a flanker or a target focus, even if it's not like important because you're winning anyway. Just say something at the start, because that will also get people in the proper mindset.
Say, hey guys, who wants to be my boyfriend? You know, I'm Mercy cosplaying. Does anyone want to hear my best Mercy impression? Guaranteed, you're gonna get all of Europe is gonna join the voice channel right there, and then be very disappointed.
Right.
Okay, so then
I also was noting the number of people in voice chat in general. Here I need to make some groups because I wasn't that consistent. But one important point is that having 5 people in voice chat makes massive difference. And actually, most of these stats, when 2 or 3 people are talking, they mostly come from games like 5-3 and 5-2, and less so from like 4-2. Yeah. So I guess this highlights the importance of everybody being on the same page.
Sure.
And if there's just one person that's not up to speed, it can ruin everything. They've been a great communication. So like if someone's not in voice chat and you can convince them, because it's hard to convince people who's joining voice chat. It's like really hard. At least if you have an important plan, type it out if you have time. Like, okay, we're gonna rush in fast. So they're just on the same page. It's really important.
So here's my thought. It's being in voice, coordinating, communicating. As long as it's not in a toxic environment and it's distracting, it seems to be pretty much. I mean, even without the stats, this kind of confirms our thoughts that it's objectively a positive thing. The question was always, how much of a motivating factor is it versus how much is the potential toxicity going to be more of a hassle? And then the other thing, and I don't know if you have stream pulled up here, but I'll pull this up, where like, okay, you have like a limited win rate here, right? Where like this is like your mechanical / individual play cap, right? When you come, your cap goes up by like, what would you say? Just pick a number, 200 SR? You go from gold 2 to plat 5 if you're calling, something like that on a good day, right? Something like that.
400, yes.
Right. So like, let's put it this way. If you wanted to kind of push, a brief period of time and win an extra few games, which is a little bit short-sighted, then if you're even just a positive communicator, not a shot caller, leading, big coordinator, managing guy, that alone is going to increase your win rate there. The question is
just make flank calls. I think like in competitive, the most important thing is just like, hey, there's a trade to say we're going for a backline, and that may prevent our bad guy. Honestly, second most important thing, like to state the obvious, like if we're down 3 people, it never hurts to say, okay, it's lost, don't use any ultimates.
Yeah.
Because like people sometimes in the heat of the battle, and it's like 1 in 10 games is saved because of stating that obvious thing.
Right. The key thing though is being able to communicate that stuff without putting expectations that it's going to be called. You saying that is going to increase the odds that happens, but it does open yourself up to putting expectations on your teammates that may or may not be followed through. If I say, hey guys, let's group up, the odds of us grouping up might increase by 50%. But there's still the 50% where it doesn't happen at all. And now I'm frustrated because people didn't follow the call, right? And so I think that's where like you have to be like careful. Not careful, but like you have to understand that there is a hard cap. It will increase the chances that a call is going to be called, but there's never a guarantee that it's going to.
Yes, of course, but like it's still value, right?
Yeah, true. Like, do you think it depends on the player?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, the only times I was losing when I had 5 people in voice chat, like it shows 73.81%, but I think that there were like a few games that we lost, but they were like very, very close, and maybe the other team also had 5 people in voice chat, whatever.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the only way we could lose with 5 people in voice chat and someone should calling was if there was like immediate toxicity. Like I had teams where not even after the first team fight, but during the first team fight, someone would be like, okay, this comp is shit, and someone switch, and why have you so little damage, even it's like in the middle of the first team fight, like it's been 30 seconds. And these are like auto losses.
Right.
0% win rate of that.
Right. I mean, how many of those games were lost, whether, like by the time it's toxic, even if you weren't in voice chat, it was going to get toxic anyway and the fight was lost, like, right? So, like, to me, it's always about, like, with the benefits of voice, is it demotivating you from playing afterwards? Does it have you have less fun? You know, not is it going to or decrease or increase your chances of winning? I think that's always like the cost versus benefit analysis for me. Yeah.
But now, maybe because we don't have that much time, maybe let's come back to maybe let's actually start the brainstorming, because that's kind of what I wanted mainly from the chat. So just quickly run through what other stats I've been collecting in the past.
Yeah.
I've been collecting some stats regarding maps, like how long does it take each match on the specific map, and that's we've discussed with Spilo on the other stream, like how, for example, Rialto is the most inconsistent map because it's either first point hold or full completion. And I also been grading maps based on how competitive they were from 1 to 5. I had a definition for each scale, and we could find, for example, that some of the least competitive maps are like Blizzard World or Ilios, because it's usually one team early dominating, and some of the best maps, most back and forth, were like King's Row and Esperanza and Shambhala Monastery and stuff like that. I also monitored the first team fight win, like how often winning the first team fight converts to the winning of the entire game. And we found that usually it's about 80%. Like, for example, on New Queen Street, if you win the first team fight, you have 86% chance of winning the entire fight, compared to Lijiang Tower, for example, when it's only 63%, because Lijiang Tower, except for possibly Gardens, is just super well designed, and it's not like if you win the first team fight, the game is over. On New Queen Street, it kind of is.
Balanced.
Yeah. So these are the kind of stats that I've been collecting, and they were inspired by some things we wanted to find out. Like Spilo was really interested in this first team fight to win conversion. I was really interested in the voice chat value. So the new season starts. I'm gonna be collecting another batch of stats for next month, and I want ideas from the chat.
Yeah, chat, if you guys have any ideas of stats that you'd want to track, like you were saying, like first fight versus the map win conversion, how long a map lasted, how competitive a map was. If you guys have any questions or any suggestions here, that would be interesting. Because for me, it was like the first fight win percentage versus the map win percentage was a really
Happy Stefano, we kind of discussed more like what comes into the first team fight win rate conversion. That other stream, because we didn't come straight to like it must mean better design, but first team fight conversion is based on the alt economy, on the psychology, on the map design, yes, partially, but also even on the rank, because the higher rank you get, then presumably the minor nuances get more important, so it's easier to come back.
Especially for
on
Koth,
the lower rank,
right?
Possibly.
For Koth, right? Like if you have a first fight win percentage to map or round conversion win for Koth, that's like 90%. That's a major concern for the balance of that map. Like I remember in Overwatch League, some meta's Ilios Ruins before Kiriko came out felt impossible to retake. It was a miserable map because of that, because the high ground was so impressive, right? So that might be something interesting to look at.
Yeah. Castle, what do you mean by what correlates with winning a map?
In other words, like if there's anything that correlates, like you get full held on Rialto first, but you still win the map. How? Right? If there was any stats, I don't know how you track that.
Also full hold. Okay. What rank were these stats? Well, I was oscillating between Plat 3 and Diamond 2, like depending on a role.
So like we're straight down in the middle, slightly above average, which is pretty reasonable. Here's what I would think. Here's what would be fun. This would definitely be a departure from what you're already doing normally, but it might be fun for you to not, I wouldn't say one trick, but play one hero for more than you would, because I know you played a lot of different, but try to pick one hero and try to grind that hero on a lot of maps and see if the map win percentage correlation lines up with our expectation. Like one trick Mei, one trick Zenyatta, and see if you have like see if your map win percentage correlates with what we'd expect it to be. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, we expect like Lijiang Tower to
so
be
you're
pretty
saying-
high.
So you're saying I have like a 50% win rate on this map, and then let me switch a hero, play that hero for like 5 games on this map, and see if it's still like 2 or 3, or is it disastrous or great, something like that?
Yeah, well, I'm saying like if you were to one-trick Hanzo, would you do better on
Yeah.
sniper maps as we would expect, or would you do like would there be any outlier maps? Because that would be
Better
fun.
rep, I'm already one-tricking May, so don't worry about that.
Oh, you're one-tricking May. Okay, brilliant. So then that's the thing though. It's like, are you gonna do like, for example, like what if you had like an 85% win rate on Havana, and we take a look at the VOD, or you take a look at some of the VODs, and you go, some of the things I'm doing in Havana are maybe innovative, that you have a higher win rate than we think that you would on that map, right? You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, I would be curious for outliers or maps that we are traditionally are good May maps. Maybe they're overrated, or maybe there's something that you're doing wrong in your own play that might kind of be like a litmus test to find out. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, May is a pretty good one because I think that like there's definitely like strengths and weaknesses with that hero that stand out.
Okay, so it's kind of because I need to think about the system for this, because
Just one trick a hero.
when it's
and predict what and see if the maps that you have a higher win percentage make sense. But if you have like an 85% win rate on Dorado as May,
here's the problem with this, because
Okay.
if I'm playing, because there's so many maps in Overwatch, like right now it's like 23 in rotation. So I found it like, because I've been collecting my stats so far related to raw,
yeah,
and I think the highest, and this is like an
that's
absolute outlier, was
Yeah.
Esperanza on tank, which I rolled out 8 times, won 7 out of it. So the conclusion is I'm good on Esperanza with Diva and Ramatra, but like that's as
Yeah.
far as it goes. And there has also been like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maps
Yeah, that's
which
true.
I didn't get never on a given roll.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Even what you talked about in the last one, which was having the different first fight correlation, all that kind of stuff. Maybe we just revisit those and see if, like, especially comparing them to the conclusions that we already had. Maybe that would be something interesting because you can piggyback those one off of it.
But that's kind of the thing that I'm collecting kind of separately for myself. That's what I sent you from season 4. I will bring it up again here. So this is my win rate in relation to maps, but I also will bring hero and sort them by time of playing. Okay, so as support, I pretty much one-tricked break. So for support, these are brig expectancies, clearly. For tank, I've been playing mostly Ramatra and Diva, but there's also been some Sigma on like maps like Havana, because God, these maps.
Problem is, there just isn't enough quantity to like really actually pull any results out.
And for damage, May and sometimes Soldier, but pretty much May. So yeah, it's like really hard. It would need to be done across multiple people or with really tight map pools. Like I like the idea of map pools. I don't know why they got rid of them.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's something that you could combine. Do you mind if I share your Discord tag with stream in case anybody wants to reach out to you and has any suggestions?
Oh yeah, that would be great, because
all right. Let me. I'm
doing this in the moment.
I'm gonna
but,
drop it in Twitch chat right now, and then I'm gonna put it in announcements as well. So if anyone's checking out the Spilo 2 video afterwards, they can check out the announcement. Stat guy on the stream, and you guys can message us. All right, mate. I appreciate your time. Maybe we can figure something out, or see
if anyone gets any idea, like after some good night's sleep, because it always brings best ideas. Obviously, contact me. I love doing stats, and I hope they'll bring some value and knowledge.
Yeah, of course. All right, mate. You have a good night. Get some sleep.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Dolos. Just talking some stats. How important is first fight and push? Yeah, so we found that one out. That was from the last time we did stats with Dolos. We actually found, I think, first fight on Koth is more important than first fight on push. And that was also confirmed by, I think, a tier 2 analyst that messaged me several months after I did my whole push guide. But here we go. Well, let's talk about this. The nerf is good for Doomfist, and here's why. Okay, let's see what you got.
This sleep dot nerf on Ana is actually a decent buff for Doomfist. Whenever you land somewhere with Doom's ultimate, you become an easy target to get hit by any sort of CC. But with this change, you can actually have a higher chance of survival if you look up while buffering your slam. If you don't know what I mean by buffering your slam, let me explain real quick. Most heroes' primary fires, abilities, or ultimate buttons can be held when those buttons aren't available for use. But the moment it becomes available, it will activate as soon as possible. So if we use Doom's ultimate, we can move the camera around while landing, and in this case, we're going to look up
That's
and
true.
face the direction of our teammates because we don't want to slam towards the enemies. And
I mean, this is why you see a lot of higher tier Doomfists. They also do the slam out immediately. They don't even necessarily need to slam up, just slamming in general at your target. So, like, even if you don't do the sky slam, I would recommend doing a slam towards your target immediately out of ultimate anyway, because it doesn't guarantee. It's a little bit easier to hit the sleep dart, but it still makes it harder to sleep.
Hold our slam button to buffer it as soon as possible. Don't spam your slam button, hold it. This is buffering your ability. As you can see, Doomfist will slam up in the air while being asleep, and by the time Doomfist lands on the floor, he will wake up. Also, during the sleepy time, you can actually buffer your abilities like Rocket Punch, Block, or Primary Fire. Also, here's a few tips on baiting out on a sleep or any CC ability. Before activating your ultimate, you want to make yourself predictable, and there's a few ways of doing that. First method is to slam up in the air towards the Ana, and when you're somewhat close to her, cancel your slam and shoot a Primary Fire or two.
That's
and
a big
then use
one
your
right there,
ultimate
yep.
when you see her activate her sleep. Second method is to charge your punch while making eye contact with Ana, and when she uses her sleep, activate your ultimate. Third method is to charge your punch while making eye contact with Ana, but then do a turn punch before she sleeps to dodge her sleep. If you turn punch too late, you will get slept in the middle of your turn punch. Having high latency doesn't help, so make sure you turn punch before she sleeps to make up for the latency. Fourth method is to use your block ability, and during this
This is
stage,
the
you're an
biggest
easy
one, in my
target for
opinion.
sleep, so you can easily activate your ultimate when she uses her sleep ability. Fifth method is to punch directly at an Ana and use your ultimate before she sleeps you.
The fourth method is the one that I think is probably the most
This is me.
applicable for most ranks, because it's the one that's the easiest to do. You don't even need to cancel the E. You can actually do it near a wall, press E, then cancel the E, and then duck behind a wall. That one's really consistent as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going here. Unranked GM1 Tracer. So I skimmed through this one. I won't pull it up on stream to go all over it again. I think that the things that he's saying are fine. I think the only thing that I find a nitpick with Awkward, it's always generally a nitpick with Awkward, because I think for the most part what he says is good. First off, I think that it's a little, Tracer's a little bit harder to simplify because she is a lot more complicated here in terms of how she plays. In terms of like the blink movement, and you could even watch in the unranked GM, a lot of the way that he moves and dodges around cooldowns, the cover and the mechanics, like it's just so much higher than what anybody else can do. So unlike some of his Zenyatta and even his Kiriko stuff, which is a little bit easier to replicate for the average player, it's a lot harder to replicate with Tracer. And the one thing I didn't like as much is I think it's always an asterisk with the Awkward, right? Like he delivers, he's very harsh. This is how you play the hero. This is the only way to play. Just do this, right? And it helps a lot of people immediately get better. But if you want to know what I would fill to the brim, that extra like 5% of information is you don't always have to be shooting. That is the one point that I think is a good point, but not a 100% accurate, you know? And I'm not saying this to criticize the way that he's delivering it. Sometimes the simplicity of the message is really important. I think very, very important. However, if you want to min-max your Tracer, you have to understand that sometimes it's okay to have downtime to set up and establish a better angle, and you have better timing off of your pressure. But I do think that the overall message of the video would be beneficial for really most, if not all, Tracers. Taking an angle, shooting, not necessarily having to get picks. I think it was fun. So yeah. Controversial opinion, Lifeweaver is good. Well, that is indeed a controversial opinion. I'm a top 500 support main. I think the new buffs will push Lifeweaver for high potential, being very solid. Since I have to go on 30 yesterday, he's always a ton, but mostly Lifeweaver's best as the backbone of the team. Whereas he sucks in dive comps. He's no burst heals, so he can't be really main damage. It's actually his brawl comps he's even worse at. But yeah, continuing on. He can't really be a main healer. I think with this new healing thing, he has a lot more healing output. Consistent reliable healing, pedal platform is good. It's willing to reduce his survivability. Making hero platform instant use. What is so great about Lifer? Rip is busted. Seriously, there's a reason why you're transing hold on first. It's so much more than saving individual cause. Complete unique space to do. Back from spawn quicker, forcing them to play slower, reposition, forcing the peel for you, save someone when fire's lost. Sure. Unless circles making it bad. What's one says it will be true. Yeah, see, this is I don't really agree with all this. So like I understand that I agree that Lifeweaver is underrated. People will always overcompensate. We talked about nuance a little bit earlier. He is underrated. Of course he's underrated, but he's also the worst release hero since I've been playing the game, which is after Sombreros. And those heroes might have been worse, I don't remember, but he is legitimately unplayable in higher ranks, okay? As he is now, I'm not so sure. I think he's playable. I think he has the heal increase, the damage increase, some of the quality of life stuff is definitely tangible. I won't say he's strong or even solid just yet. And I also agree that life grip is solid. And I agree that there is definitely an over response, but I do think that a lot of it is justified. He has a high skill sleeve flowing, and this argument is tired as well. There's a lot of people out there that were like, oh, well, Life Weaver is good. You guys just haven't figured him out yet. Turns out that's actually not the case at all. Even with Wrecking Ball, people were dominating with Wrecking Ball a lot sooner, despite his super, super unique design. That hasn't been the case with Life Weaver yet. The problem with Life Weaver is, see, this is the other problem here. As an example, think about how creative the top sim players are with TP. This guy doesn't play Symmetra. Do you guys know what Symmetra players in the higher ranks do with TP? They don't coordinate it with their team. They use it selfishly. They set up their own self plays. They set up their own self flanks. You can get value in the neutral with TP. TP bomb. Setting up your own TP to set up an off angle. Distracting a bait TP to bait the enemy team's attention. The problem with comparing this with TP is that TP is not an ability. Listen, is not an ability that requires coordination or for your team to mess up to get value. You could get tons of value with TP in a neutral fight by yourself, doing your own thing. But the problem with Life Grip is even with SVB's idea about pulling your teams into powerful positions, that's too inconsistent to consistently get value out of. And it's more of so situational that the problem with Life Weaver to this day is still neutral value. Now, having higher healing and slightly higher damage has definitely helped that. But it's still a problem where the majority of your value comes from your teammates overextending, making a mistake, or the enemy teammates overextending on you. Even your survivability is, for example, Kiriko's survivability you can leverage by taking an aggressive off angle yourself. But you can't do that with Life Weaver. You can't abuse the slightly better survivability that you have compared to like a Zenyatta. It's harder to. You can get a little bit of value out of it, but it's not consistent. Right? So there's no, people talk about playmaking potential. There's nothing wrong with playmaking potential not being damage. But even a Mercy can take an aggressive position with a DPS and damage boost them and create a lot of neutral value. That's not even something. And Mercy is the bar is really low with Mercy. You guys hear me? We don't want more supports like Mercy. It doesn't necessarily need to be damage supports, but there has to be something else. TP is proactive where Grip is reactive, right? Well, the thing is TP can be both. Grip can be both, but it is significantly harder to be proactive with Grip and unbelievably situational when compared to TP. So I think that this is, it's a controversial opinion and presented as such. And I do think there are good points in here. I think Life Weaver is a lot better than he used to be and will be played in Grandmaster. But I don't have to necessarily agree with that he is in a solid place right now, nor do I have to agree that he's a good, well-designed hero. I think he is a big, big blight on the design community, a big mark on the design community in terms of the interesting aspects of his gameplay, which are significantly lacking, and the lack of proactive playmaking ability, which is the opposite of where we were going with Overwatch 2. Yeah, Grip is a really questionable ability, and the problem is that's his best ability by far, and that's tricky. TikTok, what do we got here?
Okay, so here's how to counter every tank in Overwatch.
I feel like I'm about to be
Part
trolled.
1. So we're gonna start with Wrecking Ball. He's pretty much the best tank in the meta right now. Everybody's playing him. He's pretty annoying and difficult to kill. So what you have to do to kill him is just...
Oh
Alright,
no.
the next up is Reinhardt.
I know where this
He's
is going.
gotten buffed lately. He's pretty decent right now. People are playing him in rush comps and brawl comps, so it's obviously pretty good to know how to counter that. The thing you have to do against Reinhardt is just...
Bro, I'm sorry. Y'all are a bunch of crybabies, man. I tell you what. Like, I get it, but oh my gosh. What does everyone want to get? Like, if there was only a counterplay for the slowest, fattest, squishiest hero in the entire Overwatch 2 cast. Man, if there was only a counterplay to not getting shot. Do you guys got any ideas?
The next one is Orisa. She's got a nerd.
Yes, it is funny. I will give credit where it is funny. I'll give credit. Yeah. I'll give credit where credit is due. It's funny. You guys are killing me, man. Someone asked for a tank tier list from a top 500 console player. Versus Rush? Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. I mean, I think this is a pretty kind of a specific tier maker. All right.
With Overwatch 2's
This is a little long. We should probably stop here. I don't want to go down the thing. All right, so that was that. I think we're gonna move into the hot takes channel, and this will piggyback nicely off of the hammer time as well, because you know the hot takes are where you guys can give your hot takes. Okay, so all right, chat in my Discord, hot takes channel, hot and cold takes. Let me pull this up here. And by the way, if you guys have seen me ignore the update, it's because it's already updated. There is no update. I will click the here to download, and it says you are up to date, and it will continue. It's been doing this for years, so there's nothing to do. Okay, let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. So jump in here, drop your spiciest of takes. Remember, if it's a hot, I'm gonna react with hot or cold take, not depending on whether I disagree with it or not, but about whether I think the general public thinks it's a hot take or not. So I might agree with it, but I'll put a hot take on it. Lucio should get ult charge for assist he gets with speed boost. Definitely a hot take. Not everything has to be rewarded with ult charge, right? You could be rewarded by doing the right thing by, winning the fight, right? Or, so yeah, no. Definitely a hot take, and I think most people would agree it's a hot take. Remove Hanzo's Sonic Arrow. Has a good dueling potential already, doesn't need a 6 and 1. Now, this is the funny thing. This is a cold take, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I think most people hate Hanzo and just want him trash, so you're going to find a lot of people agreeing with you. Are you guys blind or just illiterate? High effort takes only, low effort. Oh, Discord mod. Iced tea is the best drink, definitely a hot take. If Rissa could body block, Ryan should too. It's not fair that she could just push you in a corner and unable to escape, but Ryan can't do that. All things should be able to do that. It's a hot take. You know what? It's a cold take, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I think most people would probably be like, most of the average community would be like, yeah, screw Orisa, man. But yeah. YouTubers like Flat Side negative counter playing the smart long game. They're running Overwatch for the crew, much shorter money game. This also diminishes the player best of the viewers. It also gives the chance to be playing this game for they're losing. Okay, so I don't disagree with this. However, one thing that people, I'll put a hot take because probably most people aren't going to agree with you. I think the problem. Okay, you guys ready for this one? So, and I struggle with this too. When I see the May Cassidy changes, and I'm like, I play May. That frustrates me. I don't like the May changes, and also as a fan of professional Overwatch, I don't want the Cassidy grenade to go live. That's terrible. And as a person who wants players to be having fun so that they will play the game and I will get coaching sessions, I don't like the May freeze change either. So I get irritated too, and they deserve it. However, part of the negativity, and I talked about this with the tank rock paper scissors thing, which I believe is a myth, is a lot of the overwhelmingly negativity comes from people who do nothing but the game. And so therefore it kind of warps you and makes you a little bit more negative about things because all you see is the game. The game. So of course you're going to be more negative about it, right? You do nothing but the game. That would frustrate me too. So I think the people that, I'm not saying that Flats is mentally unhealthy, of course. I'm just saying that when all you do is the game, of course you're going to get frustrated hitting your head up against the wall. If you do anything for that period of time, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to understand a lot of the negative things about it. On Fire is unbelievably overrated. Nah, I mean, I think that's not a hot take at all. It was just a fun little detail that they threw in there. Too many content creators going the hard to do. I mean, we talked about this already with the Flats thing. Yeah, I do think this is a hot take for the majority of the community. It's a cold take for my community, hot take for the majority of the community. PvE is a money grab. Wow. What a scalder. If schools Okay. We're not doing this. We're not doing this here. ML7 fell off hard in the last years from good educational content creator to another reacting, making monkey sounds on camera. This is a little bit too insulting here, and I honestly don't know. This has to be the worst balanced patch in Overwatch 2. Probably a hot take. I feel like this has to be a hot take. I feel like this is a hot take. They should remove Ramacha's stupid block in E and just allow him to still use his shield. I disagree. I don't know. Ramacha is tough for me. I don't like Ramacha design either. I don't think he's, he's not as bad as Life Weaver, but I do think he was a big miss considering how many things that they've done. But yeah. Oh, that's right. Shift. That's right. My cold take is that Spilo is attractive. I mean, that's freezing cold. Freezing cold. If AI does take our jobs, okay, assuming this isn't Susan Rise. I mean, I don't feel like this is a cold take at all. I think here's the thing. People need to feel productive. I agree with you. However, if the quality of life increases so that there are fewer people starving or fewer people, I'm not going to sit and give an economic lecture because I'm not qualified for that. But so it's a nuanced topic, I guess. Cold take. I don't know. Life Weaver needs a height adjustment. I feel like that's probably a cold take. He definitely, I get him confused with Junker Queen all the time. It's kind of goofy. Ramatra's little field of slow is insane. Like, it doesn't do anything interesting. It's such a weird thing to do slow. Yeah, there's so much about Ramatra that just, it doesn't flow. That's the best thing about Ramatra that I can describe, is that he doesn't flow. He's a very clunky hero with a lot of random abilities thrown on. Even his shield is clunky and doesn't flow. Dive is significantly harder to play than Rush or Spam, so Dive should be stronger because of it. Hot take. Don't disagree. I don't think that the comp is harder to execute, just that the heroes are harder to play. But I'm not sure. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I might agree. He's the first tempo tank. Right. The first tank that plays around his cooldowns. Crazy. Bastion should be able to headshot. Maybe not 2 times, but sometimes. That is a hot take. Safano out with a hot take, so I respect it. Summer needs a rework. Well, that's an ice colder. The new May change is a nerf, not a buff. That is a hot take, but not a wrong one. Blizzard found a way to really crap the bed. You guys talk about content creators being doomer. All right, May, a hero that was, okay, here's what they did with May, okay? They made her more potent on lower ranks and yet less potent in higher ranks. I don't know how they did it, but they found a way, because my understanding of this is, as somebody who's played a little bit of May, your ability to 1v1 highly mobile or DPS in close range is a lot worse. There's a lot of other little details as well. There was a Reddit thread in, I think, Overwatch University, if anybody can find it, from a GM Korean May 1 trick that talked about it. That was very informative. But it's absolute misery to play into as certain tanks. Like, absolute, you can't even get away, right? So first off, like, higher rank players are not going to be standing their tank in front of the May, right? Of course. However, for a lot of low to mid ranks, it's very, very unfun. And I hate to say it, I'm not saying you need to balance around lower ranks all the time, but if something is bad for the high ranks and something's bad for the low ranks, it shouldn't have happened. It can be Yashikigami. It depends on what you want. The full hour, we talk a lot about like the training structure and stuff as well, which can be helpful, but it's up to you. But yeah, I think like it's not. I would say it's a hot take, but I don't disagree. Playing a Cassidy's grenade feels just as bad as Overwatch 1 CC. That's not a hot take at all. I think when you get hit by a grenade, it's about as bad as an ability that there is in Overwatch 2. Gigi's fine for where he is for rank. Can't speak in organized play. I think this is a hot take, but I agree. I think Genji's probably fine for right now. He's got his ammo back. That was the big one. That's probably all he needs for right now. Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, I can't answer more than that's hard for me to say. With good positioning and high ranks, wouldn't it really be help punishing mobility things? Yeah, but what are you gonna do as Mei? You're gonna sit on top of your backline? Like, how many times are you gonna be jumping a Mei? And if you're stacking with your backline, you're giving up off angles to the dive tanks anyway. So that's all dive tanks want to do anyway, is control space. The only exception would be like a ball slam engage, right? Where yeah, I guess it's easier to freeze and mess up ball, but yeah, it's not great. This is not a hot take because this is facts. Until we have more DPS that are as challenging and rewarding to play as Tracer, then she should always be top 3 DPS. There is not a DPS in the game that is as challenging and as high of a skill ceiling as Tracer, so I think she'd always be top 3. Not even Genji. Not even Genji. I think Mei is probably a lot stronger in lower ranks and not a lot, but noticeably weaker in higher ranks would be my take. The balance team should collaborate with a small community of pro players. I mean, here's the thing. This is a cold take, but I don't necessarily agree. I think maybe it depends on the pro players. I have experience with this, okay? You can't, you have to be able to, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. Okay, so I was in the Overwatch League Discord when they were taking feedback from the players, okay? During the Overwatch 2 alpha. And a lot of the stuff that we gave action. There was also a lot of really unconstructed feedback, and there were honestly some really bad ideas that were thrown out there as well. So I think yes, with an asterisk, that they need to be able to be smart enough to filter them out. So honestly, without knowing the ins and outs of the system of how Blizzard balances, it's hard to know exactly where to criticize. But you know, talking with pro players more isn't necessarily going to be like the golden ticket. Let's put it that way. I think pro players are definitely better at balancing, but not as good as people think they would be. Yeah, I think this is a cold take. I just think it's just the problem with the Ramattra block is it's just not very fun to do. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Do you remember when Ramattra was released and there was like this big hype about like using your block to block like high impact burst damage? And then you kind of realize that like that just is never really going to happen, even in the higher levels. It's just too hard and it's just not that rewarding and it's too niche. Yeah, I don't know. I am Mike. That is not a cold take or hot take. That is a cold take. Ramattra is the most fun to play here. I don't know what you. Whoa! That is spice. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is the best live action iteration. Scalding hot take. Yeah, I think even if you factor in the nostalgia factor of Tobey Maguire's, I like to think of the Tobey Maguire movies as great characters, not very good movies. All right, that's my honest opinion. And I'm not a huge fan of like a lot of the new Marvel stuff, but I do think that the new Marvels are just objectively better, the new Spider-Mans. And you could also make a good argument that at least the first Tobey Maguire, maybe the first 2 Tobey Maguires were probably a little bit better than the Andrew Garfield ones too. Kiriko's head hitbox should be slightly larger. I don't know what the head hitbox, but I think you could argue that her total hitbox should be better. Ball needs some buffs. That is a hot take. Maybe built diff. Maybe, but also like, come on. We went from Kiriko Sojourn, Jungle Queen, and then boom, right? I don't know. Like, it's not like they ran out of juice necessarily. If anything, we'd see a slow decline in reusing of ideas. Widowmaker's nerf is no longer proven for engagement, but for smooth plays. I'd agree with this. I think this is a cold take, but it's neither. It is what it is. It's right down in the middle. I agree. I think having a little bit more dynamic positioning, being able to adjust more. I was talking with a student yesterday, and we were saying, like, what if grapple's on like a lower cooldown? What if you made SMG a little bit better? The time to scope was lower. Time to charge was lower. Increased your HP by a little bit. You know, lots of little changes that you could do to make her a little bit more interactive. Again, it's like the mobility creep that the game is going into, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I need to bring a hog one shot back. Trust me. Yeah, sure. Blizzard needs to nerf high mobility or something buffing CC. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I get what you're saying though. I would say it's a hot take, but it's definitely something worth thinking about. Buff ball, grapple off of players, slam can headshot. CC should not come back to Overwatch 1 main because you're not a good characters in. Yeah, I mean, this is ice cold here. Earth Shatter could one shot at point blank range. It already does. Right? Or wait, is it 150 damage? How much damage does Earth Shatter do at point blank? Oh, it doesn't anymore? Okay. Honestly, probably most people would agree with it. 175. Ah, okay. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I'll just shrug this one. There should be some way that the public can experiment with big changes. No. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, Nodlin. Oh, man. Just please stop. Not just Blizzard managed sucks, but some devs are also thinking how good you. You know, I think this is a cold take, but yeah, here's the thing. You need to, I think you need to pick and choose. PvE, rate of changes, monetization model, people need to get off of the devs' back. All right? It's not their fault. However, I don't necessarily agree that if anybody, the main cast changes, stuff like that, Def and Lifeweaver, for example, makes me go, guys? Right? But again, I don't necessarily fully agree. It's the same thing as like when I don't like judging players. I think you need to know the whole story. But let's put it this way: Overwatch 2 balance is not very good. I don't know who to blame exactly. I think but who knows? Spider-Man 2 sucks original. I think it's a hot take. I think there are aspects of it that are decent. You know, I agree with you, Domsky. Sojourn has been bad since they nerfed her primary fire spread. I mean, yeah, yes, I think this should be an ice cold take. If it's not, I have disappointed the Overwatch community. Sojourn isn't even that fun to play anymore. It's like, it's actually crazy like how bad her mouse one feels right now. Cold take. Much harder to hit the grenade. Yeah. Give Proper 2 more seasons of the production he had last season. He's the GOAT of Overwatch thing. I mean, yeah, he was the best player in the league last season. So if he does that for 3 seasons in a row, I don't think that's been replicated before. So what rules are there? Oh, yes. All low effort takes will be deleted. Chat, should we go through and delete some of these low effort takes? Let's see who gets the axe. Yeah, see this one gets the axe here. This one gets the axe. This one gets the axe. This one gets the axe. Oh, man. Support should not be rewarded for bad positioning through ability buffs. Honestly, I don't really know. That's such a vague thing to say. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is better than Guardians. Oh my gosh, this guy. I'm not even a Guardians fan, and still this guy. Somebody needs to take this guy out, please. Yo, now thanks for the sub, mate. The Nodland guy really has some good ideas. Light waves. I don't really know enough about like the pricing model, so I'm not really sure. Ana should be able to self-ult. Yo, freaking thunder outside, y'all. Shoot, I freaking love thunderstorms. That's a hot take. That's a very hot take here. I think it's probably a cold take. Hot take. Crap. Sorry, Gagor. Wait. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I did it, guys. I did it. I did it, guys. Mercy should be removed again because of tired. Aw, come on. Low effort. You guys are killing me, man. You guys are killing me. I'm getting my shift delete skills practice though. I'm glad for that. What, have we done everything that I wanted to do today? We did. Hammer time. Oh, we're supposed to do Ask Spilo. All right, let's do some Ask Spilo. Then I'm gonna go hit the sack or something. Let's do some Ask Spilo. It's been a little while. All right, hop in and Ask Spilo. We're just gonna migrate a few channels up. Yeah. All right. What would be the Spilo Moira take? I mean, what do you want my take to be? I mean, you know what my take is. By the way, I appreciate the so-and-so takes. These are good questions, Bloodline. I appreciate it. I don't know, she just sucks. Like, her utility is that she is a survivable person, and I think that alone is just dull. A lot of healing, a lot of potential for damage as well. I think being able to, like, fade through Cole and, like, having more healing per spray is, like, are two, like, relatively decent changes, even though there are buffs for a trash hero. Like, they add a little bit extra nuance to the hero, but they also make her stronger when she doesn't really deserve to be stronger. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think they just need to find her identity. I feel like Overwatch really struggles with support identity. That's been a consistent issue with Overwatch, is like knowing what support should and shouldn't do. And I think if you consider, like, the vast majority of problematic heroes are support heroes. Moira, Mercy, Brig, Batiste on launch, even things like Discord Orb and Delucio, they're only being a few supports. Lifeweaver's obviously release was a huge issue. Kiriko on response, like there's a lot of problematic supports, and I think Moira is one of them. Well, yeah, Kiriko is a great success story of, like, Kiriko's like the person that, like, was depressed in high school and lazy, and they, like, listen to, like, cringe music, and then they, like, you know, got friends and, like, have a healthy life, and they lead a small yoga class every Saturday morning, right? I think Kiriko right now is, like, a lot of fun. There are some problems about her, but, like, I think it is good. What should you say? Someone's topic, if ever at all. Let's put it this way: is, like, if you've been unable to adapt, or you think that there isn't any way that you can adapt in an unfavorable situation, then it's okay to swap. Like, if you're not learning anything from it, there's been nothing to limit test, nothing to learn, it's fine to swap there. I would say don't smash your head into a wall. I just think try to find a way around the wall, and if there is no way around the wall, then it's okay to swap. The TP bugs, yeah, it's super, super annoying. Oh, the character design, the character here, okay, what's up with, like, the hero, the characters? I guess it's part of, like, the nuance is that not everybody has to be likable. I mean, that's part of the, but here's what you got. You got freaking Sojourn over here, Junker Queen over here, Ramatra over here, my best friends. I want to hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna name my children after those three heroes. Okay? And then you have Kiriko and Lifeweaver. Shut up! Human waste. You know? Literal human garbage personalities. Hate them so much. Lifeweaver's just so smarmy and smug. Just like, ugh! And then Kiriko is just, just I hate it. I hate it so much. Dude, Sojourn is a bad woman. I like Sojourn. I think Sojourn's sick. I love how she's like Ana, but with a little bit of an edge, you know what I'm saying? Like she's like a cool, like she's like if Soldier was cool, personality-wise, that would be Sojourn. If Soldier was cool, that would be Sojourn. I like Sojourn. I think Sojourn's good. Now, if you guys want to talk about anyone that doesn't have a personality, Farah. Freaking Farah. Who the frick cares about Farah? What do you do when support are dying by doing the back one, trying Ryan to get to the back of my team is losing first? I'll try to kill the sideline. Get good. I mean, these kind of questions are impossible to answer without a replay code, without a fight. If you guys ever want to ask an Ask Spilo question and you insert a replay code with a timestamp, one timestamp, I will take a look at it. But get good. Get good. I know that's hard, but you just need to get good. What happens when I play bad and my opponent plays better? Okay. Well played. Yeah, that was funny. Do you think Lucio Boop needs a buff? No. I don't think Lucio Boop needs a buff. I think definitely the tanks being less affected about it is what it is. But yeah. If an Overwatch Classic was released, which patch would you want it to be at? I think towards the end of Overwatch 1's life, I think it was probably the most balanced that it ever was. I would be fine with that. If you wanted to do something memey, you know, goats would be fun for a short period of time. But if you really wanted the Overwatch 1 experience, I think the end of Overwatch 1's life, it was balanced relatively balanced for quite a long time. Do you think non-support heroes should have more self-healing? No. You'd have to go on a case-by-case basis. I'd have to consider it. A lot of these questions are like super complicated. Like I would have to know. I have to see it. Like I did not even feel comfortable making a harsh judgment of the Mayor Cassidy thing without actually trying it first. It's sometimes hard to know. Can you do a video where you have coached the same person to climb across minutes? A lot of people comment on some of us are more of a catalyst than the reason you're not to take credit from you, but it's like the question is someone has a goal, they always have been meant to get the buy, but someone. Okay, so yeah, I've had a lot of success stories of people climbing up from like silver and gold all the way up to the highest ranks. I myself climbed from bronze to grandmaster, but really the best players that I have coached got a couple of sessions, worked on their goals, and really coached themselves. That's why there's like a limited impact that I can have as a coach, because I'm not going to be there every day for you, and even if I could, I can't like affect you. You know, players have to coach themselves. The most important thing that you could do is coach yourself and stay and motivate yourself, give yourself goals, self-review, stay in your own training structure. So the most successful players are the ones that I coached and this like kind of like kick-started, but you're right. I'm not the one that gets the full credit. I should never get the full credit for somebody climbing up. Because I can't take full credit. Six, thanks for the sub, mate. You know? At best, I can kickstart you in the right direction, but you have to be able to take ownership of your own. And that's always been the case for anything that you learn. For anybody, even the stuff that I've taught myself, I would learn from somebody that was a lot better for me, a really good coach, but then I had to like go and just do it over and over and over and over again and figure out the stuff on my own. The one who's not a self-learner is a non-learner. That's true. Yep. Is there any bit of movement, philosophy, position, mental advice how to avoid or bait out Maywall as Reiner Ram? You could just walk forward and walk back. Honestly, getting walled isn't really the end of the world. Like. If you play to expect it, the biggest problem with Maywall is that a lot of times Ryan and Rams don't realize that it's happened. If you respond to it quickly and just shield or block, I mean, that's what 99% of the times in Brawl Mirrors and Overwatch League happens. Very rarely are the Mays bad enough to get their walls baited in lower in Overwatch League. So you just take the wall, you just block, play around it. You can bait it by like towing forward or rotating to spaces where the wall isn't quite as oppressive. But it's a lot squishier than it used to be. So Yeah, just drop it in. Ask Spilo about the summer thing. You should read that thread you were cooking. We made the wall up. We took the wall up. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, even Ryan can just play with wall and just shield. Are there any revolutionary Overwatch mech left to be discovered as the game essentially solved? I wouldn't say it's solved. Okay, let's put it this way. Fundamentally, it's solved. Yes. I think in terms of map control, space, timing, angles, it's solved. However, different nuances, different ways of implementing and expressing this game, or better ways of teaching and understanding those things is always up for adjustment. And I also think that new heroes have a way of leaving their own impression of how the game should be. So I would say mostly, yeah, but it's not just Overwatch as a whole. I think people we're a little bit like game centric, where we think about Overwatch as like Overwatch, but we have to understand that like the whole concept of like space control and like timing and stuff, this is just first person shooter fundamentals. This stuff has been a case since MOBA games and CS:GO. You know what I'm saying? This isn't an Overwatch, like it's not like, it's just the fundamentals. That's why when people were like, oh, how do you know if this is like, when Overwatch 2 came out, I was like, you know, map control matters, space control matters, it's going to matter even more and all this. People were like, well, are you sure? Well, we have to test. No, shut up, idiot. It's this, it's not a hot take to say these things, right? I see a lot of Tracer videos talking about blinking close to melee and calling it free damage if you're going to blink away, but I feel like there's so many situations that I want to blink into melee range, and because my head's so much bigger than the screen, I think I'm going to get hit. Well, it also makes it harder for you to track sometimes, so yes, it makes your head bigger, but you might also be off their screen, and it also means they have to move their crosshair more, whereas this versus this, you're a bigger target, but they also have to move their crosshair more. Melee is sometimes free damage when you're moving around a target that is hard to hit or to finish off a kill. But yes, it does delay your reload. It's safer than you think it is, though, as I said, because if you do get a blink melee on something, you are often going to be vastly disrupting their crosshair placement, so it's going to take a very aggressive move to hit you. I won't say blink melee like right in their face necessarily. I would try to work on your 180s, but yeah. Look at Overwatch a year ago, completely different game. That's a cap. What are you doing? Probably too early to tell whether the main cast into the game is probably moving more, but yeah, probably. But especially because the level of Winston, it depends on what professional play. At the Overwatch League level, remains to be seen. Contenders, tier 3, GM, probably, because the Brawl heroes have always been easier to play. So yeah. Oh, love for proper explanation there between Brawl and Rush. It doesn't matter. I think Rush is more mobility, Brawl is less. So like you might say like a Moira Reaper composition with Lucio has more mobility than say a Ryan May composition. So Brawl is short range composition with more range. Rush is a short range composition with more mobility, if that makes sense. And that's not like anybody's strictly defined that, but when most people say Brawl, they're thinking Ryan, but Ryan could be BAP. Ryan needs to be BAP usually. Ryan could be May. Ryan could be Hanzo, Cassidy, right? Heroes with more range. Whereas a Rush comp is usually, they can be used a little bit interchangeably. Rush usually means more short range compositions that do want to kind of rush you. And that's going to usually be your Reapers and your Winstons and your Moiras and such. Do you have a favorite part of the Bible? This guy is trolling me. Song of Songs. I think Romans' philosophy is really great. I think Romans' philosophy, if it's a heavy book, but it is a great summation of what I believe. I think. For optimal results, should a team focus on killing the weakest point of the other team, or on countering the strongest point of the other team? But always play to your. I would say I wouldn't even worry. Okay, there's a great quote here. From Nick Saban, who is probably one of the best, top 2 or 3, maybe the best collegiate professional American football coach of all time. And I just read a book that he wrote a little bit ago, and he said something that it's definitely applicable to professional Overwatch and maybe applicable to in-game as well. Don't focus on the opponent. Focus yourself on what you do. Don't worry about stopping. Be strategic, but primarily focus on yourself. You're only concerning yourself with what you do. So for you, it's like, I wouldn't worry about the weak point. Focus on like, what is your composition good at? Let's play around that. You know, if it's going for BAP, go for BAP. I don't care if that's their strong point. I think a lot of people oversell the counter strategy and playing around this and scouting. Just play the game. I can honestly tell you that I have actually seen teams perform worse in matches from scouting, because they stopped putting emphasis on what they needed to do to just execute a good team fight, and they started to try to predict and counter the enemy strategy, and they just looked like apes. Yeah. So I would say just play your game. It depends. Knowing what the enemy team is going to run, or having a general idea of it, definitely helps. But yeah, how am I supposed to play Wrecking Ball against Cassie and May? I don't know. Maybe slam grapples, because the stick is a little bit tricky to hit. Roll throughs, and then having a where you roll through, you already know what cover you're going to go to. You can't get anywhere near May without grapple. But yeah. Oh, favorite story, Dolas? I don't know. No. I was always an Anua fan. I just liked the color black a lot. I was always an Anua fan. But I think in hindsight, I think Kopaka was a bad man. I think Kopaka like had a cool personality, and like aesthetically was maybe the coolest. Everybody, I wasn't the beta Tahu enjoyers though. Everyone liked Tahu. Lewa was pretty cool too. I liked his axe. But I think Kopaka or Anua maybe. Can you give a general for when to play your life when to be looking for pressure as a support player? Always look for pressure. Always look for pressure. There is no answer. There is no answer. If you die, but you put out an ungodly amount of pressure, it's probably worth it. If you could have done slightly less pressure and preserved your life, I probably would have done that. But if by killing yourself, you provided 10 times more pressure, then it's probably worth that. So it's like asking, what is too much work and what is too much play? I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to kind of look at the situation and evaluate, if I had pushed a little bit harder, could I have gotten that pressure for free? Or would that pressure would have gotten me killed? It's about making educated gambles. I mean, that's the entire game in a nutshell, right? How do you play McFlurry meta? That's pretty much it. You just pretty much nailed it there. Good wall trades. I mean, I don't know why you're asking questions that you already know the answer to. I don't know if you're fishing for any nuances there. I think one of the little nuances that maybe that you're out of the loop with is like how important the Mei focus is for the enemy Ryan and the enemy Mei and the enemy Lucio. To where forcing ice block is a really big deal. So when you're taking Ryan trades, you should almost always focus on Mei if she's accessible. And Mei's being aware of that and playing around that is a really, really big deal. So if Mei gets her ice block forced because the enemy Ryan swung on her, that's a big problem. And so a lot of high level Ryan play is around that. Or Mei play, Ryan and Mei play is around that. And then obviously taking good off angles with your DPS at the same time. A good old economy. I would say Brawl old economy is a little bit more flow chart, where like being able to play around Blizzard and being able to kite out, BAP window, stuff like that is really important. But a lot of that stuff you probably already know. Do you like Echo? Yeah, I like Echo. I think Echo's fun. Rhine or Ram and Brawl Mirror? Depends on the map. Depends on the map. Right now, I think it also depends on the meta too. Like right now, like how does Cassidy do, or how does Ram do into the Cassidy grenade? And I think answering that question is really important. Amazing answer, thank you. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic. Is there any tip for heroes you should never be considered strong minded to how fun they are? Oh yeah, I talked about this in my I made a video a while back on this. It's my Overwatch blacklist basically. And I'm thinking right now the list is expanded just a little bit. Hello? Roll. You guys want my Overwatch blacklist heroes that should never be meta until they get either a rework or a redesign of some way, shape, or form? 1, 2, iffy, but yes, probably. Soft blacklist, I'll put. This is also a soft blacklist for me, but depends on the level of play. Soft blacklist. Yeah, here you go. You are being sarcastic? Wow. Broad questions. What'd you get, Cager? Reaper's too simple. Reaper's too simple. Reaper is way too simple. Not enough nuance. Is there any heroes you'd like to should be considered? Okay, wait. What are the odds that Atlanta doesn't win? I would say Atlanta. Like, here, you guys want my honest answer? I feel like Atlanta probably has like a 60-70% chance to win. But you know, a lot can happen. You know, like I think maybe a 75-80% chance, but they're not a lock. They're hard from a lock, I would say. Will we continue to see new heroes added with more abilities that start to outclass other characters with less abilities? Yeah, probably. I think that's not necessarily a good thing, though. I think it's more of a damning commentary on the previous old Overwatch 1 hero designs that are way too simplistic. Yeah. What do you think about the dev team wanting to make newer characters meta? I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with newer characters being, meta. I think it's fine. It definitely forces people to play them and try them out, and then they can make adjustments from there. I don't have a problem with that. As long as they're not over the top broken. And they quickly adjust them. Kiriko took way too long. Sojourn took way too long for them to adjust. I had no problems with those heroes being meta at the start. No problems at all. But we went from Junker Queen having a broken shout to her being not very good in like a month or 3 or 4 weeks. And Kiriko and Sojourn were around 4 months. So it took them 3 or 4 times as long with those heroes, which is the tough part. Do you know candidates believe that Microsoft running one times and reverse? Yeah, of course it has. Anything that big in terms of corporate changes and business changes and leadership changes definitely has the potential to have significant impacts, of course. What kind of support ability do you want with the next hero? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I am a critic, but I don't put a lot of time into thinking of my own suggestions. The last time I did this was with Lifeweaver. You know what? Actually, that might be fun. I wonder if I could dig up my Lifeweaver tweet from ages ago. Because I got really irritated at Lifeweaver's initial release. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. I'm going to sit there in the shower. So I thought in the shower for about 10 minutes. And I came up with some ideas. And some of them might be fun. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But I think it'd just be easier if I went back. And when did Lifeweaver get announced? Into my Twitter here. Oh my gosh, my Twitch chat is not updating. My bad, y'all. So I've been missing like the last 10 minutes of chat. Whoops. 4th of April. Okay. POV permanently online. It's my least favorite part of my job. Is how like a lot of my job is spending too much. Oh, this is it. Right? Is spending too much time on the Twitter. Okay. Passive health pack drop. Replace. Remember that, guys? Remember the health pack drop? Hey, Naisu. I like the Bedouin, but I don't like the Nomad skin as much. I think the color scheme is a little bit off. I think it's Bedouin I like. But I think they're wildly underrated, Naisu. Personally. I think probably the most underrated Genji skin. Passive health. Lifeweaver increases heal damage speed by 5% every 20% HP he loses. Ultimate tree, Lifeweaver increases heal damage speed by 50% plus self-regenerating 50 HP bubble for 8 seconds. M1, M2, remove swapping or make reward by buffing the M charge. You could charge the M1 and M2, total heal output for M2 increased. Like you could charge up your damage and bam, you know, or charge up your heal for a little bit further. Life grip, replace with a buff that increases target move speed by 20% and returns 25% of the damage done as healing. Think Junker Queen bleeds. Bubble duration should be about 3 seconds or so, 12 second cooldown. Anyway. But I don't know, just some ideas like that. I have no idea. This is just like, so honestly, in terms of like what things that a support should have, I don't know. I haven't put enough thought about it. But there's like having like something that where you could like, I don't know. Those are some ideas. How do you think Reaper should be buffed if he needs a buff at all? I don't think Reaper needs a buff. I just think he needs to be like, maybe something that you could do with like his TP, the where it's like more usable more often. I don't know, bro. Like, Reaper is one of those heroes that I think we might just need to like let stay behind and move on. Keep him in like a not total trash tier and just kind of like let him be there. The tree thing as well, yeah. I think the problem with Reaper is that, for example, his ultimate is too easy and too easy to counter at the same time. His gun lacks dynamics. His Wraith is fine. The reload with Wraith was fine. It was definitely like a little bit of utility added. The TP is too inconsistent and too like rewarding for the lack of pay. There just isn't enough to the hero. When only one tank is viable, which tank do you think would make the most fun meta? I really think Winston metas are always the best metas. You're not going to find a tank besides Winston that's as fun. I think Reinhardt is also pretty fun as well. I don't think that's too much of a hot take. I'm going to only do a couple more guys because there's a lot of them. And do you think a couple years Blizzard will make Overwatch Classic? No. I don't think that will ever happen. Yeah, of course, Stefano. Of course. Just specify so in your form and just ignore the questions that aren't relevant. If you are playing Lucio, and let's say you have 2 ults that beat should be used for, how do you choose which ones to beat? Just the first one. Just the first one. Because if you beat the first ult, oftentimes you'll create enough of an advantage that will force the second ult, or maybe you even win the fight before the second ult is used. I'm becoming a bit in ranks recently. It feels pretty good. I'll talk about the rank plays. No. I mean, let's put it this way. Like, right now, there are more worse players in the game just because it's a newer game. So there's a lot more... Like, okay, we want the game to be more popular, which means there are going to be more... There's going to be more heroes, right? There's going to be more players, right? So, more heroes, I say. More players. So it's not a surprise when the average SR goes up. That's just... There's more newer players that are worse ranked, so you're going to be pushed up. So now, I would say being Grandmaster now and Grandmaster in Overwatch 1 matters less, but that's also going to change over time. Even with the influx of new players are going to get better, so being Grandmaster over time is going to matter more and more and more. You should never be comparing yourself to a rank. If you're Grandmaster in Overwatch 1, you're still in the top 1% of players. It's still an accomplishment. You're still good at the game. And I also think that a lot of people poo-poo the lack of effort. Like, if I hear another person say that, like, for example, Sunshine Bread, oh, she's Grandmaster in Overwatch 2, but she was just like, Diamond in Overwatch 1. But she took Overwatch 2, she has taken Overwatch 2 a lot more seriously, been grinding, scrimming, VOD reviewing a lot more in Overwatch 2 than she ever was in Overwatch 1. And I get this all the time in my coaching sessions. Oh, yeah, I was like plat in Overwatch 1, but now I'm like, low masters in Overwatch 2. And part of that is SR inflation, but part of it is also that people are applying themselves more to the game because they want to. It's a new game. It's exciting. It's motivating. So they're grinding. And, of course, they're getting better. So that's the thing. Is like most people who have ranked up have just gotten good. Like, it's shocking. People get better at the game. When I climbed from Diamond to Grandmaster in like 3 seasons in Overwatch 1. And it would have only taken 2, but I did a role swap midway through the second season. And I literally went, well, actually, no, that's actually, so actually, if you think about it, I dropped from Masters to Diamond when I dropped Tank and I picked up Ana. I was terrible at Ana. But I went from Diamond to 3.7 in like 1 season, and then from 3.7 to 4.1. And I mean, this is when seasons were also a little bit shorter. Is Ryan way harder than season 3 and early season have gotten worse? It could just be the meta. Metas always shift, and the thing with players is that players will do this because they will not be able to adjust to the metas as well. For example, like if you're playing Winston into a Roadhog meta. You could still play Winston, but if you are not, if you haven't thought about that matchup and come up with a solution, then doing the same thing that was working in prior seasons might not be the case anymore. Should you ever shout Javelin Spin or Nemesis form out of spawn? Yeah, of course. Obviously, like a lot of the time, yeah. Shout is definitely a little bit trickier because it's a slightly longer cooldown. But yeah, all the time. Let's do one more. Are you saying that versus Sombra is a skill check for the Doom? Could you dive deeper, please? Thanks, yeah. Yeah, let's put it this way. That is a simplistic way of looking at it. I would say it's more of a skill check as a Ball, because I think Ball has more ways of counterplaying Sombra than Doomfist does. So what it is, it's more about your ability to bait, more about your ability to be aware of her positioning, hunt her TP when available, focus her down. I don't know. Did I say Sombra versus? I wouldn't say, okay, let's put it this way. I would not say Sombra's a skill check versus Doom. I do think Sombra does pretty well versus Doomfist. But it is a matchup that is harder the worse the Doomfist is, because your ability to like, the thing with a lot of low rank players is they don't anticipate things. They just do the same thing over and over again. We just talked about this with the Reinhardt thing. I'm not saying that this person's a low rank player, of course, but the mark of a high quality strong player is their ability to adjust and change into adversity, right? And Sombra is one of those adverse situations. So if you're unable to adjust your playstyle around Sombra, play more baity, track her timings of when she translocates out, abuse the fact that if she's going for you, she's not going to be pressuring your backline, so your backline is more free, which means you also don't have to play as aggressively on the enemy backline because your backline's under less pressure. You kind of see what I'm saying? It's like all these like little micro decisions that go in your head, right? And then also she appears, you focus her because she's a good squishy to force out. And also if you focus her, she can't hack you. Like all these little things, right? That allow the matchup to feel better. Now, I will say that she still does very well. What's going on, Graham? Oh, Pepper's here. But I won't say it's a skill check. I'll rephrase that. I'll say it was more of a skill check versus Ball, because I think Ball has more tools to play around Doomfist, because you can hunt her locator, which is a big thing that Doomfist doesn't do quite as well. Right. Okay, chat. I'm going to call it there. Loves and kisses. It's been real good. It's been great. This Saturday, I will be doing, planning on doing an owl analysis. So I'm not sure what match we're going to look at. I haven't really decided yet. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I might make a tweet about it, just see what people think. It might be, maybe do a little poll or something. So stay tuned. I think Owl starts tonight, actually. So that will be fun. I will be streaming that. And then I think Tuesday we're going to be another Owl match. Probably the finals, whatever that may be. I think it's wrapping up this weekend, right, y'all? So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, anyway, loves and kisses. I appreciate the support. ! Coaching. Yeah, that's all, y'all. Have a really... Am I doing Overwatch World Cup content? Maybe. A little bit of a conflict of interest with the America thing. It depends on how good the matches are as well. So yeah, we will see. Okay, chat. I'll chat with y'all later. I'm gonna raid somebody in my Discord. Looks like this name is Lucky Breakfast. Looks like they're playing Widow. Loves and kisses. I will see you guys later. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Farewell. Stop being fresh.